And welcome to the Sunday session with me, Sam Matterface, and the former Arsenal winger Perry Groves. We're live on talkSPORT this afternoon. It's the international break, so that means it's the return of all your favourite features, including Sounds of the Weekend, Smiles, Stranger Things, and Statterface. This hour we'll be discussing a range of topics as well, including 8 players who have left the England squad. As boss Thomas Tuchel suggests, other central defenders are above Harry Maguire in the pecking order. And the impressive knockout victory last night from Moses Atama on Jermaine Franklin. What a performance that was. You heard it live on talkSPORT last night. But first, over on talkSPORT 2 in the WSL, it's just finished. Chelsea 4, Aston Villa 3. A late goal from Shurkanushkin has sealed the points for Chelsea. Elsewhere in the WSL today, West Ham United 1, London City Lionesses 1. West Ham 11th, London City 7th. Leicester City against Brighton is about to get underway at 3 o'clock. Leicester are bottom, 4 points away from West Ham with a game in hand. Crystal Palace 0, Charlton 0 in WSL 2. That's third versus first, and Charlton leading Birmingham at the top by 6 points right now. Bristol City against Birmingham is 0-0. That's just got underway. That's 5th against 2nd. 8th against 10th. Nottingham Forest against Durham. Sunderland against Newcastle, a big Wear Tyne derby. 7th place Sunderland take on 4th place Newcastle, who are 3 points behind, a point behind 3rd place Palace, who occupy the playoff place, which could end up seeing promotion to the WSL. In the Super League, Hull take on Catalans a little bit later on. Leeds Rhinos take on Warrington Wolves. And in the Prem Rugby, South Sharks against Bath is a 3 o'clock kick-off. 2nd place Bath, 6 points off the leaders Northampton with a game in hand. And in the tennis Miami Open men's singles finals, Yuri Lekecha and Yannick Sinner start at 8 o'clock tonight. Gary Woodland leads by 1 shot on 18 under of the Houston Open on the US PGA Tour. He'll get his final round underway around about 5:55 UK time. An Englishman, Alex Fitzpatrick, won on 9 under. Brother of Matt Fitzpatrick, the siblings have become the first to win in successive weeks on the DP World Tour and the PGA Tour. This morning, the Japanese Grand Prix was won by Kimi Antonelli, and you're up to date on the Sunday session from talkSPORT. And Perry Groves is here. Hello.
Afternoon, Samuel. Are you good?
Yes, very good. Thank you. How are you? Nice to see you in the flesh. Usually we just talk to each other down the magic of the radio network, don't we?
Yeah, and you have to make sure that because we're in vision now.
Yes.
We have to make a little bit of an effort.
Make a bit of an effort in what sense?
On the clobber side.
On the clobber side.
Yes.
And you have not done that, or?
I think I have. Actually.
Oh, you have. Right.
Don't mind. I've gone a little bit Nashville.
What I'm a little bit worried about is the fact that you've turned up with Taylor Swift bracelets on that say North London forever.
Got to keep the faith, Samuel.
It's bias, isn't it?
Have you had your eyes lasered? How do you see that from there?
Don't you worry, mate. I've eagle-eyed.
You're like an owl.
Eagle-eyed. That is for sure. So much to talk about in this first hour of the programme, including quite a lot on what happened between England and Uruguay on Friday night and what it means for some of those players that have left the squad. But last night on talkSPORT, we brought you big-time heavyweight boxing featuring a future superstar.
What a shot that was.
Yes, what a night last night for Moses Atama, knocking out Jermaine Franklin in round 5. It was a clinical stoppage of Franklin at Manchester's Co-op Arena. Live on talkSPORT last night, the British heavyweight further cementing his reputation as one of the sport's most exciting rising talents. Franklin climbed off the canvas in the 3rd round, but was knocked out cold. What an uppercut that was in the 5th that took him down. And I suppose now talk will turn to bigger fights, world titles, after the unbeaten prospect recorded his 12th stoppage in 14 professional fights. How impressed were you with Atama last night?
It was wow. Honestly, it was a wow moment. You know, when we're lucky enough to watch football, we watch sport, whatever, and you hear hype about somebody and you think, oh no, they can't be as good as what everybody's saying is. I just looked at Moses Atama and he boxed, he's 21, he boxed like he was 27, 28. Obviously, Jermaine Franklin had never been knocked out before. He was put in there to give him a test. And they panned up. His ring craft was unreal, Sam, for someone who's that young, where he actually, you know, when It reminded me of a Pep Guardiola sort of high press Man City. You know, when you just block off all avenues that the opponent's trying to get out. And he blocked everything off. He got him in the corner. And they panned over to Jermaine Franklin at the end of the second round. And he looked like he'd been through 8 or 9 rounds. And it's just the speed of his hands is unreal with his jabbing. But he's got heavy hands as well. You can tell. It's not just the jab. You know, when you're setting... The jab is actually draining all of the energy out of the opponents. And the uppercut was like world class. But the thing I loved about it as well, when Jermaine Franklin was still stood there and he was gone on his feet, he still went to punch him to make sure that he went down. It's like a nosedive. And it was a wow. There is no doubt in my mind, and obviously we've got the boxing experts who are brilliant on talkSPORT. You're just looking at him thinking, yeah, mate, you're going to be world champion.
I thought it was really interesting that Ben Davison kept in between rounds saying to him, it's a breakdown job. It's a breakdown job. You know, I suppose that was designed to sort of make sure that he retained focus and not do anything reckless, and make sure that he went through methodically the game plan, because he was pretty, listen, he's devastating, but he was also pretty controlled at the same time. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, but he has, you can be gifted, which he's naturally gifted, but you can't teach ringcraft. You can't teach, like I go to Tyson Fury. I said he's a fighter and not a boxer, because he's been used to fighting probably since he was about 6 or 7. Obviously, Itoma come into it a little bit late. I don't think he started amateur boxing seriously till he was about 14. But he just looks so assured and so calm, because that was a big fight for him, because obviously that was a step up, you know, from the opponents he'd had before. He was just knocking them out for fun. And if you look at, he's had 14 fights. He's only gone 31 rounds. So, you know, that he was putting that... If he hadn't finished off, if he'd gone 8, 9, 10 rounds, then maybe the narrative would have been, well, maybe he's not ready yet. You look at that and the way that he sort of planned out the fight and his finishing power was on a different level. And now it'll be his next fight, I would imagine, will be like Frank Warren. It'll be a world title fight, because he's that good. You know, as I said, when you look back, and I was lucky enough, I remember Boris Becker coming in at Wimbledon and winning it, like when he was 17. And again, I loved him because he was ginger, so that was great. But then you look at him and you think, oh wow, you're a generational talent, and this is Itoma.
Yeah, I think about the similar sort of time in his career, Anthony Joshua was knocking out Gary Cornish to register a 14th stoppage, and he was on a similar sort of trajectory. So there is still sort of development to come. There's still big opponents to come. He's unproven, more than 6 rounds, and they've gone beyond that. So there's still a lot of work to be done. But after the fight, our boxing pundit Spencer Oliver got in the ring and spoke to Moses about what he thought about the performance.
I know everybody was saying that I'm going to knock him out, but I can't believe that. I can't believe into the hype. I can't feed into it. I trained hard. I prepared for him diligently, and I got the knockout I trained for. Not what I deserve, but what I trained for.
Jermaine Franklin is that guy. Never been stopped amateur pro. Anthony Joshua, Dillian White took him the distance, and you done what they couldn't do. That is making a statement.
Man, you make it sound good, man. You make it sound good.
Yeah, certainly. And also, obviously, I think when you go back to Joshua's career and you compare it to Itoma's career, he's probably fighting higher caliber opponents during the course of that rise. He said he would love to fight unified world champion Alexander Usyk. Joe Gallagher told us this week that Lawrence Okoli should be up next for him, or wants to be put into the frame. There's a lot of discussion about what step he should take next. He's got to plan it properly, hasn't he, and not rush it.
They will do. Frank Warren will plan it properly. And I think Usyk's, there's probably a little bit too soon. If you're looking at Usyk, you'll probably be thinking about in a year's time. Do you know what I mean? When he's had other world title fights and he's learned and he's been tested a little bit more. But you mentioned the similarity with Anthony Joshua. I think Anthony Joshua is what I call a crafted boxer, where he's a gym fighter. Do you know what I mean? He's got the right stature, the right technique. He's worked really hard to get where he is. But I don't think he has a natural boxer's brain. And you look at Itoma, and he's got everything. I think, was he 6'3.5", 6'4"? He's going to fill out as well, because he's only obviously 21, so he'll have more hours in the gym. So he's only going to get stronger. And the only thing you would say is, and all the great fighters get to a level where he hasn't been hit yet. He hasn't been hit, and you don't see how he recovers. You know what I mean? Exactly, yeah. And then when you get into that situation, how you get yourself out of it. But that would have been the same as all the great fighters. You know, that question would have been, once you get hit, how would you get out of it? So that's the only question mark. He got caught a couple of times with Franklin, and he just sort of laughed it off. Do you know what I mean? So Franklin tried. He was a bit desperate. We had a few haymakers coming in, but it was definitely like a wow moment. And you know, I think people and boxing fans look back and go, yeah, that's when he really announced his arrival at world-class level.
Listen, boxers have been trying to avoid him for a little while now. Right, okay, more on that, of course, on Talk Boxing over the course of this week, the talkSPORT Boxing YouTube channel. But now it's time for this.
Sounds of the weekend
This is a journey into sound.
on talkSPORT.
Can you remember how to do this, Perry?
Yes, it's called. It's cognitive.
Is it?
No, when you said sounds of weekends, I got
like muscle
a little bit
memory.
excitement. Exactly, I've got a little bit excited.
Okay, sounds of the weekend. This weekend, basically what we do is we give you two massive stories from the world of sport, arguably the biggest story from the world of sport. What we want you to do is match great songs to these headlines. If you make us laugh or giggle, you get extra points, honestly. 81089 on the text. You can WhatsApp us, 03717 223344. We want you to fit songs to these great headlines from the world of sport. Our first sound of the weekend comes from Italy. Diego Maradona Jr. has claimed only his legendary father rivals Scott McTominay as Napoli's greatest ever player, sensationally labelling the Scotsman Jesus following his Ballon d'Or-worthy title charge. Perry, what do you have for this on this one?
Own personal Jesus, Depeche Mode. Faith, bit Route 1, George Michael.
It's high praise, isn't it?
And Pray, take that.
Brilliant, love it. Higher Ground, UB40. We can give that a Jesus.
No,
to a child.
IB60, if you don't mind.
IB60, what?
You said UB40, I said no, I'm 60.
81089 on the text if you'd like to get in touch. We were songs for the Jesus that is the wonderful Scott McTominay, who actually came very close to scoring last night for Japan, for Scotland against Japan as well. Story number 2, our second sound of the weekend, is about a former Chelsea goalkeeper. You might not remember him as a Chelsea goalkeeper, but he was a massive part
Was
of
he the throw ball catch goalkeeper?
He was the wonderful and the very well thought of Rob Green. He's delivered a total bombshell, by the way, revealing that Chelsea's 2019 Europa League winners didn't receive a single penny in bonuses after the club dismissed the trophy as a second-tier competition. Surely you can recruit your favourite Dirty Cash must come out.
Yeah, Stevie V, Dirty Cash. Dire Straits, Money for Nothing. Don't Pay the Ferryman, Christy Bird from the 80s.
They didn't get a bonus for winning the Europa League.
I'm not being funny, right?
That's for qualifying the Champions League.
Yeah, but the modern day player, I don't think they rely on their bonuses as much as what we did when I was playing. So have a little whip round for Rob at the end of the show.
Do you know what? There's the great actual picture of that finally is Rob Green lifting the trophy. It's one of the biggest cheers of the night as well, because obviously support goalkeeper wasn't really involved in the first team, but he was very much part of the squad and he was brilliant with the players, loved him, and he lifted the trophy at the end and everyone gave him a massive cheer. But that is quite weird, isn't it? No bonuses for winning the Europa League because it was second tier.
It's a bit elitist, isn't it?
Do you think Tottenham got
Chelsea.
bonuses for winning?
Yeah, 100%.
I bet they did.
But they say you don't. When I was playing, my bonus doubled my money. I was on 350 quid. Now win bonus was 350 quid. So that's why you see exalted celebration, we're all kissing each other with love bites, whatever. Do you think we just won the game and doubled my money? The players don't need the bonuses these days, let's be honest, at that level.
I wouldn't have thought so. But you can send us your songs for our Sounds of the Weekend. Diego Maradona Jr. has claimed only his legendary father rivals Scott McTominay as Napoli's greatest ever player, essentially labelling the Scotsman as Jesus. Our second Sounds of the Weekend, Rob Green delivering a bombshell that Chelsea's 2019 Europa League winners didn't get a single penny in bonuses because the club dismissed the trophy as second tier. 81089 on the text, 03717 223344. There's some tap-ins there. We'll get into them next. Our first Sounds of the Weekend songs are coming right up, and we're going to be discussing the 8 players that are leaving the England squad and whether Harry Maguire is really fifth choice for the World Cup. Get in touch.
Join us now to look ahead to all British heavyweight boxer Dillian Whyte. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Dillian.
Good morning. How's everything been? Good?
Yeah,
good, man.
Yeah, really, really good. You gutted for the Welsh last night for no reason whatsoever? Or is it just Gabby who's hammering them?
I have no comment.
Dillian, what are you thinking about this fight then? You fought both fighters, Itoma and Franklin. What are you expecting from Franklin in this fight?
I think it's a good fight. It depends on what Franklin turns up because, you know, he can turn up and put on a good show and be a really good fighter. Sometimes he can turn up and be a little bit of a stinker, you know. Obviously, he's coming off a loss in his last fight. But I think that's made him hungrier for this fight. And now, obviously, we look at Mosley thinking, if I beat Mosley, I get one up on Dillian because Dillian beat me and Mosley beat Dillian. So I think he's got double motivation. So, yeah.
How good is he, Itoma? You know.
Sounds of the weekend on the Sunday session on talkSPORT.
Oh, I love it. Sounds of the weekend this weekend. McTominay, the new Jesus, according to Diego Maradona's son. And no Europa League bonus for Rob Green and his teammates when they won the trophy in 2019. It's all about the money, money, money. It's price tag by Jesse J. Graham in Norfolk for that one. Before that, you heard Halo by Beyonce, suggested by John, the Fulham fan. Keep them coming. 81089 is the number to text us. You can WhatsApp us 0371722 3344. Across the sporting world right now, Crystal Palace 0, Charlton Athletic 0. Charlton leading Birmingham at the top of the table by 6 points in WSL 2. Bristol City 0, Birmingham 0. Birmingham second. Nottingham Forest 1-0 up against Durham. Sunderland have just taken the lead against Newcastle United. That's 7th versus 4th. And Palace at the moment occupy 3rd position, which is a playoff place, which could get up into the WSL. This is talkSPORT. Let's take a look at the biggest game of the weekend, all thanks to Enterprise Rent-A-Car.
The biggest game of the weekend on talkSPORT with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Here for it. Book now at enterprise.co.uk.
England 1, Uruguay 1. Ben White scoring the only goal of the game for England, then giving away the penalty, which led to Valverde equalising in the 94th minute of the game. And 8 players have left the England camp after that, ahead of Tuesday night's game with Japan. Aaron Ramsdale, Fikayo Tomori, Calvert-Lewin, the injured John Stones, Wharton and Noni Madueke, and Bukayo Saka and Declan Rice, who are returning to Arsenal for medical assessment. They're not the only Arsenal players to have left their international teams today. Piero Hincapié has left the Ecuador squad as well.
Tell you what, those little back twinges. I tell you, you've got to be careful where you get out of bed in the morning. You know what I mean? Got to get a better mattress.
Ramsdale, Tomori and Calvert-Lewin effectively cut from the squad, Perry. What does that tell you about their chances of being in the final 26-man World Cup squad?
Well, you'd think they're pretty slim, to be honest. Obviously, James Trafford played against Uruguay and he did okay. He didn't have a lot to do, did he, to be honest? So if you're looking at goalkeepers, obviously Pickford is your number one. You're going to take 3 goalkeepers. So who would you say was Henderson? Well, you're going to have the throw ball catch goalkeeper as well, aren't you?
You are.
With
probably
Steele.
Jason.
Exactly, yeah. But he's the Scott Carson. He's going there to help the goalkeeping coaches, you know, and obviously he's a very good character. So he's going to get nowhere near actually playing. So would you say Henderson was the second
Henderson's
choice?
number 2, yeah.
Exactly. And then you're looking at Trafford.
Trafford did well, I thought, Friday night.
Exactly, yeah. So you're looking probably Trafford is in front of Aaron Ramsdale. But we've still got a long way to go from now to the end of the season. We've still got, you know, players will pick up injuries. So, but you think they were the 3 goalkeepers now would be Pickford, Henderson and Trafford.
And of course, we'll talk about Harry Maguire in a little while. But if Harry Maguire is at 5th on the pecking order, or maybe ahead of that, then Fikayo Tomori is probably further down the pecking order, and he's been released back to AC Milan. Dominic Calvert-Lewin has 2, having only got on the pitch for a little while on Friday night. Missed a decent chance in that game as well, but his movement was okay. Be interesting to see whether or not that's him finish for the World Cup. I was a little bit surprised that we didn't see Danny Welbeck in this squad, bearing in mind it was such an extended squad. John Stones is an interesting one for me. He struggled to be fit for long periods of his career, really. I mean, he's played just 26 minutes of Premier League football since he last played for England back in November. But before this week, he'd actually started each of the last 4 England internationals. He almost sort of primes himself to get ready for England international duty, and he always seems to be available during those periods. But if his body is now breaking down even in England weeks, is he a risk actually that England can't take? Or is he that good a defender that with the numbers that you've got in the squad, you can afford to take him?
If you think there's always 3 players that don't get anywhere near playing, and I would think because of the quality that John Stones has, the experience that he has, the way that he can defend, the way he's on the ball, there'll be players that you take a risk with. So it's whether you take a risk with John Stones that his body might break down even if he's fit, or there might be a couple of players at the end of the season that are carrying injuries, and you have to make that decision whether you're going to gamble on those. So you said there with Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire is a very, very good centre-half. He's a very good defender. He's got a brilliant character. He's got leadership qualities. He's good on the ball, like coming out. He pinged a few in the first half, pinged a few into Ghana, like into Henderson. But I think at the top level, when you're getting to quarterfinals, semi-finals, his pace is going to let you down because you're playing against better forward with better movement.
And is John Stones significantly better enough that you would take a risk on his fitness and put him in the squad ahead of him?
Yeah, because you're going to have other players that can play at centre-half. It's Mark Gahey +1, isn't it? It's whoever you're going to play next to him.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Ideally, he probably wants to play Stones, but I think he's going to have to play Ezri Konsa at the moment because I don't think Stones is 100% fit. Look, he may well be fit by the end of the season. He's got a calf twinge and he's gone back to Manchester City now, but his future at Manchester City is still unclear because his contract expires at the end of the season. How difficult is it for a player when injuries are stopping you from achieving what you want to achieve, from basically holding you back when you are desperate to do your job and your body can't get through it? So it's almost as if you're being prevented from doing what you know you can do, but with no fault of your own.
I've been there. I know exactly how, because it is so frustrating, and you question yourself. You question whether you're doing your rehab properly, whether you're doing what the physios are asking you to do, what the nutrition's are asking you to do. So I had that situation when I was at Southampton when I snapped my Achilles tendon, and I came back, got the plaster off, and then I snapped it again within, I think it was 4 or 5 days. And then my ankle joint seized up and I was having manipulation, and I knew that I wasn't the player that I wanted to become and get better, because I relied on my pace, and I knew that my pace had gone by half a yard to a yard, and you have to adapt your game. And it is frustrating. You can get unbelievably low. You can get unbelievably, sometimes you feel a bit isolated, but obviously I think the welfare that the modern day player has is far, far better than the era that I came from. Because in my era, it was, if you can't play, you're not fit, we're not really interested in you. Don't come and see me until you're actually fit. So I just had communications with physios. There'll be a lot more going off the pitch for John Stones, worrying about him and how he's feeling, how he's doing mentally. And there'll be frustration, and there'll be a bit, obviously, from Pep Guardiola and the medical staff there. They'll feel a little bit sorry for John Stones because they'll know that he's trying everything he can to make himself right and get himself fit. And as you keep breaking, and what happens is then when you overcompensate on another part of your body, and then you might get a calf injury. Do you know what I mean? You might get a knee injury. So it is so frustrating.
We talked briefly about Harry Maguire, and Thomas Tuchel actually speaking in a quote which came out last night but was given to the newspapers, I think, on Friday evening. He said, on Harry Maguire, I got exactly what I thought. Solid central defender play. Very good on the ball, very calm, strong in the air, and a weapon for set pieces. I haven't changed my mind, but I see other players I like to start for us. I see other players ahead with a different profile. I see Ezri Konsa ahead. I see Mark Gahey ahead. It's no secret. I see Trevor Chalobah on the level of mobility was slightly ahead of him. Also John Stones, but he had injuries. Now, a lot then has been made about the fact that would put him down the pecking order, maybe even to 5th. Dan Burn wasn't even mentioned there, and he was rested for the Uruguay game and is part of that 11 group that came back yesterday. Where do you think he is in the pecking order? I mean, because going through that, I mean, I've spent a bit of time just reading it over and over again. And, you know, Chalobah, obviously, he was talking about the mobility there, not necessarily his all-round play.
Yeah, but saying the media love Thomas Tuchel because he's very honest and very open and very blunt. And he actually mentioned himself the level of mobility, what I just said earlier about, you know, at the top level, I'm worried about his pace, where he's going to get exposed. So, Thomas Tuchel, I don't think is saying anything that, you know, football fans when they look at it. And if you're looking, if Dan Burn looks like he's going because he gives you something different, and let's be honest, Dan Burn is going to be someone that he's going to take, that he can play at centre half, he can play at left back, but he's going to take that for set pieces.
Massive weapon.
Exactly. If you're struggling in the last 25 minutes, half an hour, Dan Burn will be the one that you turn to, which is a good way of going about it because you need something different. You need to find different ways.
Harry Maguire is good at that as well.
So, but if Dan Burn goes...
Dan Burn's already been included for that reason.
So Harry Maguire doesn't go if you're going to have that. Because, again, Thomas Tuchel said exactly what we've said. Brilliant at set pieces, brilliant at defending, good on the ball. So as I look at him, I think as well, Thomas Tuchel wants to have a look at players' characters and how they are himself. He'd have done his due diligence and you ask people and you ask the players they play with, you ask their coaches, you ask the managers, whatever. And he'd have just thought, yes, you are a very solid character. So if someone does get injured, Thomas Tuchel wouldn't hesitate to bring Harry Maguire in. But as you said there, he's virtually said himself, he's got to rely on other players getting injured for him to get into the squad.
It wasn't a brilliant game of football on Friday night, and the performance was clearly disjointed. I actually thought that Uruguay came into the match with a real intent to disrupt and destroy and not really play a proper open game of friendly. It was more of a competition game. And actually, when we spoke to Thomas afterwards, he sort of suggested that he'd spoke to Bielsa previously, talked about the friendly, and Bielsa said, well, I'll come and play a friendly, but we're
going for it.
Proper game.
It's
a proper game. We're just going to...
I thought it was good.
We're going to disrupt it.
You know, when you obviously heard yourself and Dicko on commentary, whatever, and there wasn't a lot that ignited from the England players' side in the first half. You know, I was a bit disappointed because it's basically, that was a trial game. Yes. And I know you have to play a structure and you have to, you know, carry out the... But when you're playing a trial game, you've got to be unbelievably selfish when you think, right, I'm going to do for me and I'm going to try and catch his eye. And I don't think in the first half, James Garner did well, you know, as you say, was a solid midfield performance and his energy was good. And
Rashford had a couple of spurts.
He had a couple down the left-hand side. I thought Tomori did okay, actually, to be fair, but they didn't have a lot to defend. Yeah. So
they had nothing to defend. I think the first shot on target was the penalty.
Yeah, but what it was is what we're going to find. Can we break them down when they're sitting deep? They obviously went man for man sort of periodically. And I must admit, I like the fact that they were edgy. Even though it was friendly and we weren't great going forward and there's no spark in the first half, I actually love the fact that we were getting tested physically because that's when you go into the World Cup, that's exactly what happened. I think...
well, it was better that they had a proper test rather than some of the games that they've had recently where they've been rollovers, really, haven't they?
You don't learn anything. Because Thomas Tuchel, maybe no one stood out and gone, yep, I'm going to grab that place. But if he had doubts about certain players, I think that's confirmed his doubts.
But does that sort of negate the experimental idea that he had, which was the boot camp idea? Get these players in, give them an opportunity to fight for a place, a ticket at the World Cup. That's what it was billed as. You know, we spoke to them quite a lot. They were saying this is a chance for players to try and fight for a ticket to the World Cup. Did the fact that they couldn't do that because the game was so competitive in terms of the opponents were very edgy sort of mean that the experiment fell flat a little bit?
No,
no. Did you think you learned enough from...
Absolutely, because he would have looked at Phil Foden and he'd have been one of those players. Unfortunately for us at the minute, most of our 10s aren't playing to the level that we want them to play, and we've got a lot of very talented 10s. I looked at Phil Foden, and obviously you get the better view, Sam, because you're actually at the game. There was nothing wrong with his application and his effort, but he's just scratching it. He's just not flowing at the minute. He's not.
Like he was desperate to get on the ball. He was dropping in deep. He was.
But he's not playing free.
He was almost trying to force it.
I said it before. He reminded me like a lead guitarist who's on his guitar. He's got one string that is just slightly off tune, and that's because when we were lucky enough to watch him play live when he was flying, he got his 27 goals in that season for Man City. I watched him play, and he was unbelievable. His link-up play, flicking it around the corners. I called him like the owl head, where you see everything that's going on. And he was playing free, I just think you saw a player there that wasn't free in his head. And I think because he's not getting games at Man City, I think he started... What happens is you start to question yourself and doubt yourself and think, what more can I do?
Yeah.
I think, unfortunately for him, I don't think Phil Foden is going because he's one of those who didn't grab it by the scruff of the neck and have that sort of spark and that imagination. When Cole Palmer came on, Cole Palmer did more in his half hour what Phil Foden did in the 59 minutes that he had. So Cole Palmer would have put himself ahead of Phil Foden.
That was a look at the biggest game of the weekend with Enterprise Rent-A-Car.
The biggest game of the weekend on talkSPORT with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. Whatever it is, we're here for it.
Okay, just a quick word on the Arsenal players dropping out of international squad. We touched on Piero Nkapia being the 9th Arsenal player to withdraw from international duty this week.
It's a coincidence.
Does it show how obsessed Mikel Arteta is with winning the league this season?
Absolutely. 100%. I equated him to remember when Sir Alex Ferguson obviously used to put his players under pressure not to go and play for their country. I don't think Ryan Giggs ever played a friendly, did he, for Wales? Is this just just a coincidence that he had those little spasms or back spasm? Or as an Arsenal fan, I just didn't want Arsenal players to get injured. And Mikel Arteta would have told him in no uncertain terms before they went, this is a period of time when we come into the end of March, that this 6 or 7 week period, you might never get this period in your club career again. Where you can put your mark on the club's history, win trophies, and then kick on if that gives you that belief. So I was absolutely delighted. I was worried about Madueke, to be honest, because at first I thought it might have been a concussion, and then you think, oh, he's got a knee brace on. But if I was going to hazard a guess, I might think that all of the Arsenal players that poured out will probably be fit for the game against Sporting Lisbon. Just a guess, just out there. I'm not a physio, but I think they might be all right.
We shall see. Next on the Sunday session.
That's me in the corner.
Craig in North London has sent this in, Losing My Religion by R.E.M. For Scott McTominay, who has been described as Jesus, second only to his father by Diego Maradona Jr. because of his role with Napoli. 1089 on the text if you want to nominate some sounds of the weekend. And we'll continue to discuss England as well. Feel free to get in touch. It's 03717223344 on WhatsApp or 81089 on the text.
I thought that I heard you sing.
Former Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp has broken his silence on Mo Salah's impending departure from the Reds. Here he is talking to the Anfield Wrap about the legacy that Salah will leave behind.
Unbelievable goal. So he was part of the best front three in world football for a long time and was the one who always had the highest numbers. So that says something. That really says something. It's not easy to be slightly above the other two guys, and they have all their specific skills. But Mo was the one for the last situation. He wanted to have that more than anybody. So Sadio was a mix of both. Like, yes, he wanted to score goals, but he could have played midfield even. So that's his skill set. Bobby was the genius who didn't care about anything and could play absolutely everything. And Mo was the one who was really always the goal in his mind. And you cannot train that, and I don't think you really can learn it. It's inside, and he has that, and he will have that until the last day of his life. I'm pretty sure that's why it was the challenge, because if you want to rotate or whatever and you take him off after 87 minutes, you could see in his face he saw I could have scored 3 in the last 5.
Yeah, that's Jurgen.
No Premier League this weekend. It's international break, so it's Sunday session with Perry Groves and Sam Matterface. In WSL 2 right now, it's Crystal Palace 0, Charlton Athletic, the leaders, 0, Bristol City 0, second place Birmingham 0, Nottingham Forest 2, Durham 1. Before the match, Durham 10th in the WSL 2, a point above bottom place Portsmouth, who have 2 games in hand. Sunderland 1, Newcastle United 0 is the latest. All those 2 o'clock kickoffs. The latest episode of How to Win the World Cup is out now as hosts Matt Ford and Alex Brooker speak to the former England skipper Stuart Pearce all about defenders ahead of this summer's World Cup and why having a strong defence will always be more important than having a strong attack. That's How to Win the World Cup. Available by your usual podcast provider. Perry, strong defence over strong attack. Are you agreeing with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You can get a psychological advantage over teams when they know that your defence is strong and you're hard to break down. Because if you look at Man City, even though how brilliant they were going forward, when obviously won 6 out of 7 Premier Leagues, they were still very, very difficult to get at. And obviously Rodri was a main reason that playing in front of the 2 centre halves. You look at Man City now, and when teams are playing against them, and they were brilliant, obviously, in the cup final against us on Sunday, where we had our bellies tickled in the second half and there was only 1 team in it. So, but in other games this season, there's been teams when they've played against them where you think the games, I just go back to the game against Spurs at the Tottenham Stadium when they're 2-0 up, it could be 5 in the first half. Spurs get a goal and then they end up drawing the game 2-2. That doesn't happen if you have a very solid structure defensively. And players, when they play against you, they get a little feeling that you're a little bit vulnerable. So if you've got this reputation where it's unbelievably difficult to score a goal against them, you go 1-0 up and you see the players' body language just sort of drop a little bit.
Jill's been in touch. Jack Butland from Rangers, could he not be one of England's goalkeepers? Maguire, 5th choice, give me a break. Look at the current and past form for England. Stones is never fit. And Dan Burn over Maguire, please, she says. 03717223344.
Is that Man United fan?
WhatsApp.
Is that Man United fan? No?
Maybe
Who
Jill
knows?
is a Manchester United fan. I'm not sure. Talking of great attacks over great defences or the other way round, France, great attack, no doubt about that. They, Belgium, Portugal, Brazil, Colombia and Croatia, all in the United States and or Mexico during this international break. England decided not to do that, decided to play in Wembley in order to give them a send-off game, a couple of send-off games, big crowds. But also I think they decided to do that because the Premier League clubs may be pushing back over the idea of travel and not looking great if they, at the end of the season and during the title run-in, took a load of players out to North America. But there wasn't much pushback from those who have travelled from France, Belgium, Portugal, Brazil, Colombia and Croatia from the Premier League to go over to the North America. Were you surprised a little bit that England didn't go over there just to sort of test it out? Because as Emma Hayes was telling us on the television the other night, conditions really do vary depending on where you play in the country.
No, I think what Thomas Tuchel's done is what is best for him as the England manager. Obviously, he will think about the players playing in their club sides, which he's done. Obviously, having that squad of 35 and, you know, not playing what he knows are the probables, because he wants his players to be as fresh as possible when you come to the end of the season. And it's not as if they're not going to play any pre-tournament friendlies. Most of the international teams, they will play. England got 2 friendlies, haven't they? Before.
New Zealand and Costa Rica.
Exactly, before.
In Florida.
In Florida, right. Most teams will play 2 or 3, and they'll play like 11-a-side games behind closed doors, you know, for 45 minutes, whatever. So it's not as if they're just going to fly in and all of a sudden then you've got to acclimatise, then you've got to play your games. England will be over there for probably, 2.5 weeks before the tournament actually starts. That's what they've said. Again, they're going to have, before their friendlies...
1st of June, 1st or 2nd of June. The first friendly is going to be on the Saturday of that week. They play another friendly, which is on the Wednesday of the following week. So that's 10 days, 8 to 10 days. And then, they play, I think, the next Tuesday.
So
it's nearly 2 weeks.
That's more than enough time.
He said to us when we were talking to him about it that they reckon it takes 9 days, 9 proper days to acclimatise.
Yeah, and obviously it's different with the different time zones that you have to acclimatise to that, because you've travelled long distance, Sam, and everybody tells you what to do. Put your clock on the time of the country you're going to, have a sleep on a plane. Nothing works. Nothing works at all, does it? When you're going, jet lag always.
The only thing I can ever think of whenever I go to America, and I always do this, is I try to get up as early as possible the day I'm leaving, go to sleep on the plane if I can, even if it's just for an hour, and then whatever happens, force myself to stay up as late as possible on the first night, so that I sleep enough to get on roughly the right time.
But it normally
takes 2 or 3 days.
Exactly, yeah. It normally takes 2 or 3. But you're lucky, obviously, because you turn left on the plane. So, right, so you can stretch. You can do massive. You have massive kit with your bed as well.
Okay.
Exactly, yeah. So you're all right. You're not back with the bassinets where I have to go and travel. But no, I see. I think the way that Thomas Tuchel has approached this, and I think you should have good communication with the club managers, because you want to know, obviously, if they've got any minor knocks or injuries, or you'll ask about characters. You would do due diligence. So I think what he's done, he's virtually making sure, unless Phil Foden actually has got away with one, because Araujo, I think, who actually went through him, didn't he? And he could have broken his...
That was awful challenge.
So, but he did well because he rode the challenge, didn't he? And he knew it was coming.
He just got a little bit of air underneath his foot, didn't he, at the right time?
But I think with Thomas Tuchel, you can't guarantee it, but he's gone as far as he can to make sure that when the players go back to their clubs, which will be on Wednesday, that they will be as fit as when they came to him.
Yes, he was very, well, apart from the ones who picked up injuries, obviously, and he was very clear about red flags, and the red flags to him were the amount of minutes that some of these players were playing. He said there's too many. They're playing too many minutes. So the reason he did the split squad thing was just to create a bit of competition, but also to give a big rest to some of the players that have played a huge number of minutes, and that's why we've seen that big rotation. Matt Benson says, can we talk about everyone kicking off over Ben White, but happily ignoring the fact that Rice and Saka are faking injuries every time, but will get no backlash? I'm not sure they're faking injuries. I just think that they're not 100%. And what he's thinking is, I'll preserve them. They can go back to
100%.
Arsenal.
Right. Let's be honest, right? At this stage of the season...
I think it's an honest conversation between those in the camp rather than faking injuries.
Yes, but... no player is 100% fit at this stage of the season. Every player will have a little knock or a twinge, or you feel a bit stiff, whatever. And obviously, I'm miles more worried about Arsenal than I am about England.
What?
But again, Thomas Tuchel has thought, right, if they're saying to me they are a little bit stiff or they've got a twinge, whatever, it's discretion's better pass a balla, go back to your clubs, go and get your rehab and get Mr. Miyagi in so he can do hands-on, hot hands, hands off, hands off. And then you're actually resting those players that you need to be as fit as possible when they come back. And every club manager, if they're being honest, off the record, will hate the international breaks.
Of course they will.
And every fan is looking at their...
You say that they'll hate it if a player's come back injured. Actually, some of them need a break. Some of them need to get away with their families and have a break. Some of the managers need to do that. Pep Guardiola has talked about that. Mikel Arteta has talked about that.
Let your brain calm down.
A little bit of just time off.
Definitely.
While the international break takes precedent. Was it wrong to boo Ben White? I say that because Matt Benson also said, I'm not bothered either. If picking Ben White gives you an extra 2% and wins you the World Cup, then you pick your best players regardless, and you don't worry about what has gone before. Well, Jonathan Northcross in the Times has encouraged Ben White to come out and publicly explain his reasons for leaving the 2022 World Cup, something he hasn't done yet. When Thomas Tuchel spoke to him last week, he said he didn't delve too deeply in it, and once he asked him, Ben White said he didn't really want to talk about it, so he didn't press home the issue, but he did say he would explain to other people who were there at the time that are still in the group. After the match on Friday night, Jordan Henderson had his say on the situation.
Some of the fans probably don't even know why they're booing. They listen to what's being said in the media, and a lot of the time what the media see isn't true. Not really many people know the ins and outs of what happened in Qatar.
He also went on to say that it's part and parcel of being an England player, and he said that he basically said that during the course of quite a long answer, actually, that there's been a bit of media spin around the situation. Well, Jordan is right. Jordan is absolutely right. There is a lot of stuff that is said on social media, in particular, that is just speculation. But the stories in the Telegraph, the Times, the Sun, they all detail a small rift with Steve Holland and the coaching staff in Qatar in 2022. Now, we've never had that confirmed by Ben White, but those publications are pretty strong on their sources. Gareth Southgate denied that there was any falling out, but just because he said there wasn't a falling out doesn't mean that Ben White didn't take offence to something that was said to him by a member of the coaching staff. That happens all the time. Let's be clear. It is not normal for England supporters to boo one of their players. It's not part and parcel of being an England player to get booed. It doesn't happen very often. England fans, especially the match-going fans, are very, very good with the players. They spend a lot of time, they spend a lot of energy, they spend a lot of money on following that team. The reason that they booed Ben White is because they feel that he turned his back on the country. Now, I'm not justifying that booing. I'm just telling you why I think it's happening. I'm explaining it. And the reason I think that is because they've never been given a satisfactory answer or explanation as to why he suddenly left a World Cup campaign and then subsequently refused to be called up again, right?
For Lee Carsley when he was the interim manager.
Absolutely.
Right.
And for Gareth Southgate afterwards. It was another 2 years that Gareth Southgate...
And also because that was still the same coaching staff that he had in place.
Well, we're surmising that that's the situation. All we know is that he turned down call-ups after leaving the camp in 2022, and then when he was phoned by Thomas Tuchel in the January of 2025, he said he would be happy to be called up again. For people to take time out of their lives, as Dom does, our pal who presses the button behind the...
What, the Fulham fan, the Rangers fan, the England fan?
But he spends a lot of money going around the world watching England. They spend a lot of their time away from their families, their jobs, because they think it's incredibly important to go and support the England national team. It's important for them also to feel as if the people that are representing England feel that passion, that commitment, that loyalty that they do. And if you've remortgaged your house in order to go to a World Cup, if you've taken out a loan so you can pay up front for all those tickets that FIFA want you to pay up front from because they're so desperate to scoop up your cash, and then you've got someone who you don't think wants to be there, you are going to be a little bit annoyed and frustrated about that. That's what happens if you don't explain. Again, I'm not saying that he should have to. Maybe there is something else that is going on in his life and he doesn't want to talk about it. Whatever, fine. But if he doesn't, then in a vacuum, speculation and resentment will breed. Do we all make mistakes? Do we make wrong decisions every day? Are we perfect humans? Of course we're not. Does he deserve a second chance? Without doubt, everybody does. But is it something to be brushed off? No. And is it normal and part and parcel of being an England player? It isn't.
No, I tell you what, on the Ben White situation, I don't think he owes anybody an explanation at all. It's between him and whatever went on. We're in the media and we hear conjecture, don't we? We hear what goes on. We hear that there was a clash between him and Steve Holland, and for the different reasons, which is all sort of conjecture, basically. Ben White didn't turn his back on England. He's turned his back on the coaching situation that he was in. Gareth Southgate is going to stick up for Steve Holland because he's his mate. Yeah. That's what he's going to do. Ben White doesn't owe anybody an explanation about anything. The only thing that he knows, and I actually think it showed that he was quite a strong character because he's not silly. He would have known the reaction he was going to get when he came on. He would have known that, right?
Well, he should have been prepared.
Yes, of course he was, right? And there's this thing about Ben White that, away from football, that he doesn't go and watch loads of games. What he does is he trains to the maximum that he can train. When he plays to the maximum that he plays. But then when that finish and he goes home, he's not one of these players that wants to go and watch loads of games and know what's happening here. So you have to manage different characters in a different way. And Thomas Tuchel would have done his due diligence on Ben White as a character. And I know for a fact that if Ben White was a wrong 'un or a bad character, he will be nowhere near Arsenal's squad. He'll be nowhere near playing for Mikel Arteta. Mikel Arteta doesn't have those characters. The reason Arsenal are the force at the moment is because there's no big-time Charlies, no wrong 'un. So Thomas Tuchel would have spoke to Mikel Arteta, people that know Ben White, he'd have spoke to players that know Ben White. And this thing about he owes the players an explanation, if he's going to do that, great. But I'm telling you now, Sam, players ain't that bothered.
They're probably not bothered. But let's just get it right. The supporters are bothered.
And
the supporters deserve a little bit of respect as well. It's not just media spin. It's not a witch hunt. When it's not part and parcel of being an England player. England supporters don't just boo their.
They boo
players.
David Beckham. They boo John Barnes. England fans do boo players.
That's the two different things. What you're saying is that in exceptional circumstances, it happens every now and again. And you've named those one or two moments over the course of 40 years where it has happened, right?
I bet there's other England players that have been booed.
But it's not. It doesn't happen every week.
Not every week.
That happens at every game. It's not something that happens. There's a lot of England fans that travel around the world. And all they do is support the players.
Yeah, but they don't.
Harry Maguire was going through a bad time at Manchester United. It was the England away fans that sat there and stood there and gave him a round of applause and chanted his name.
Yeah, but the England fans don't go away all around the world to watch Ben White. They go away to watch England.
They do.
Right. So
they want Ben White to be as committed to England as they are. So, I'm not saying that he isn't. I'm just saying this is why they are reacting like that.
Right.
And it's not just a normal thing. It doesn't happen all the time.
I did a show yesterday. A couple of callers, and you was at the game, and they said that the booing wasn't vitriolic. It was more like a pantomime boo. When he scored, there was a cheer, and then when it got announced that it was him scored, then they booed. But it wasn't a really angry, vitriolic boo. It was like, we're disappointed in you. I thought that's what it come across. And quite rightly, England fans have a right to be disappointed, but Ben White doesn't. Yes, they do. But Ben White doesn't owe anybody any explanations at all.
No,
because if he's private and he's gone, I'm going to keep it.
But if you don't explain, if you don't say what
there'll be conjecture,
there's going to be speculation.
Yes.
And you have to understand that. You just have to take that.
Yeah, but as I said, if he didn't want to play for England, he wouldn't have said. Thomas Tuchel got in contact with him and said, "Would you be prepared?"
He wanted to play for England,
and he said, "Yes, I will." And he would have known the grief that he was going to get.
And he was allegedly very emotional about it when he got the call.
And I actually think it showed. You want players with big characters and strong characters. He would have known. And when he came on, and he played at centre-half, which then we all thought he was going to be, obviously, a choice at right-back, and he's played at centre-half. He gives Thomas Tuchel another option. I'm not saying he's going to be in the final squad, but he gives him... Thomas Tuchel would have wanted to see Ben White himself, right? That's why he picked him. He did it with Ivan Toney. He put him in one squad because he'd heard different stuff about him and about his character. He had him in one squad, never been seen in the squad again, because he wanted to see for himself what character's about.
And absolutely, and there is a bit of it as well, which is Thomas Tuchel saying, I'm the boss here, I make the decisions, and absolutely right as well. I just don't think what we need to do is try and make out that it's that the fans treat the players badly, because I don't think they do. I really don't think they do. I think they want the players to succeed. We all want the players to succeed. That's all we want. We want a successful England football team. Next on the Sunday session. Sharon in Peterborough for the Rob Green Europa League bonus story. Money, money, money from ABBA. It's our sounds of the weekend this weekend. No bonuses for winning the Europa League. It's not a proper tournament, according to Chelsea. Outrageous. 2019 that happened. And also our second sound of the weekend is Scott McTominay is Jesus, according to Diego Maradona Jr., who says that he's got legendary status, second only to his dad. Next, there'll be the return of one of our favourite features. It's the Sunday Smiles.
It's a rich man's world.
sounds of the weekend on the Sunday session on talkSPORT.
Always got a crowbar, a bit of George in if you can. Yeah.
It's not sounds if it ain't George, is it?
It's got to have George in it. Laura, the Liverpool fan, on the McTominay story, Jesus to a Child by George Michael. On the Europa League bonus story, Mike says, hello, Black, and I need dollar. Yeah, I need a dollar.
It's not a good exchange rate at the minute, though, to be fair, is it?
Do you know what? They were telling me, actually, the Japanese journalists were telling me this week that their supporters are going to really struggle to go and...
Because of exchange rate.
Support in America, because the Japanese yen is really weak at the moment and the dollar's so strong, and getting there and the price of hotels, and it's going to be a real issue.
Extortionate, exactly, yeah.
It'd be interesting to see, actually, because they reckon there's going to be quite a few of them who come across for the friendly game on Tuesday night.
You know what
happens?
happens?
On talkSPORT.
Fans always find a way.
They do, they do, and that's what I'm talking about. You know, you've got to.
All right, let the Ben White chat go. All right,
fans,
all right.
They spend a lot of time.
Everybody deserves redemption.
Everyone, absolutely. Again, that's the same thing, though. But you've got to also understand the other side.
The dynamics.
Absolutely. Across the sporting world right now, Crystal Palace 1, Charlton 1 in the WSL 2, third against first, fifth against second, Bristol City 0, Birmingham City 0. It's half-time there. Nottingham Forest lead Durham by 2-1. Durham going to be struggling against relegation. Sunderland 1-0 up against Newcastle United, 7th against 4th. It's time for this.
When you're smiling, the whole world, it smiles with you.
Ah, yes, it does. That's right. We start the return of Smiles with a really touching story. It involves the Hollywood owners of Wrexham and former defender Jordan Tunnicliffe. Jordan facing a long road back after a devastating ACL injury, and just when he needed it most, Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney stepped in with an incredible £8,000 donation to support his recovery. It's a huge boost, both financially and emotionally, for a player sidelined for the season. A proper show of class and care for someone who has played his part in the unforgettable promotion run. For all the stick the boys from Hollywood get, this is a story which has fairy tale sparkle all over it.
It's all about the community, all about the togetherness.
Why they get stick,
and they get it, exactly, don't they? They 100% get it.
Why do they get stick?
Well, it's jealousy. Everybody wants their club to have rich owners and actually care about their club, don't they? So that's why.
Great.
The next at Smiles is one that could have been in any of our features today. Kylian Mbappe reportedly carried on playing for Real Madrid for weeks after picking up a knee injury. You couldn't write this, by the way. Well, they have written it because I'm reading it. But not because he was forced to. It was because the club scanned the wrong leg.
Stop it.
He had one job.
Stop it.
One leg.
Stop
one
it.
job.
Stop it.
I think the limp might give it away, wasn't it? No? That's right. The problem with his left knee, they checked his right knee and said, all good, and sent him back out there. He even played a few more matches before the mistake was spotted, with a ligament tear eventually confirmed. Someone at medical room definitely had a bit of expansion. Thing is, though, doesn't Mbappe go, it's the other one, mate?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one's hurting a bit.
Can I tell you something? Are we okay? Can I tell you the story?
Is this allegedly?
It's real. No, this is a true story.
All right.
This is a gruesome story, though. Are we okay for it? It's quite personal.
Personal to you?
Personal to me.
Well, that's right then.
As you know, what year was it? Probably 16, 17 years ago now, I had testicular cancer, right?
Yep.
Now, the treatment for my testicular cancer included me having one of my testicles removed. Right?
That's not
right. This is a true story.
Yeah.
So I went in, had the scans, whatever. Right, okay, going to have a left orchidectomy. That's what it's called, right? It's the removal of your testicle, okay? Go in. There's only me here, right? There's only me here in this room, and I'm laying on there with the gown on, and the surgeon comes in, and he says, right, okay, just want you to go through the chart and just check that everything's going to be okay. And I'm going to draw on you where we're going to do the operation, because we're going to cut here and cut here and cut here. Oh, fine, no problem. Anyway, I'm a bit scared. Let's be honest.
Well,
I've got
I'm
cancer.
not being funny. Yeah,
I'm
exactly,
scared.
yeah.
I'm scared. I'm about to go under the knife. I've got to have anaesthetic.
The sedation.
I'm on my own. I'm scared.
Are you going completely under? Or
I'm going completely under.
Oh, good. That's right.
I'm going completely under.
Thank God for that.
He gets his big magic marker out. It's like a Sharpie, okay? And he comes over and he starts to draw on my left leg towards the left testicle.
Yeah.
And I went, whoa. He went, what? I said, it's my right testicle that's got the cancer. And he said, hold on a second, what are you talking about? I went, no, it's the right testicle you're taking out, not the left one. And he went, hold on, got his folder out, this is no joke, went, Oh, yeah. True on the other leg.
The thing is, right?
That's a true story.
Take the positives, right? Because, right, if you hadn't have been, like, conscious and
I
aware,
almost wasn't.
Right, that could have gone from one gonad
One ball to no ball.
no, exactly, yeah. So I'd look on the positive side of it. You've actually,
wow, that is a true story.
So
anyway,
all you've got to do is get a marker pen and just put a dot on the right.
Did that make you smile?
No,
there's a special side.
Don't think you can beat that, to be honest.
Kylian Mbappe worrying about his knee.
Yeah. By the way, are we playing top trumps here? Is that what it is? I'll see your knee and raise you my gonad.
Yeah. Swindon Town currently 5th in League 2 as they push for promotion to League 1. Manager Ian Holloway is pulling out all the stops to help his team till the end of the season and get them to finish on a high. But what has he done? More intense training? More media interviews? Well, not quite. Holloway has banned himself from swearing. Holloway felt it was contributed to the negative environment during Town's tough period recently and not setting the right example to his players. He's claiming a week-long streak, which for him is a miracle, is helping.
Positive energy, positive vibe, exactly. And finally, Chelsea legend Eden Hazard may be retired, but he's still putting in a serious shift just on two wheels these days. The former Chelsea star powered for a whopping 167-kilometre ride out in Mallorca and celebrating style by downing well-earned beer at the finish. Proper Sunday league energy or what? Not bad going for someone who called time was correct, just 32. He's still popping up in charity matches like Soccer Aid, but it's clear the cycling bug's well and truly got him. Completing a 167-mile bike ride and downing a beer in celebration. If he wasn't a legend already, he certainly is now. And you know, you're talking about your situation with your gonads. Right, I did a charity cycle race for prostate cancer from Leyton Orient to Amsterdam, and you think, oh, should I get a bike? And someone said to me, it's your gooch you got to worry about.
Yeah,
you know where your gooch is?
Yeah.
Yes. And
I've only got half of one now.
No, the thing is, but it's udder cream. So you have to put udder cream on your underneath.
Absolutely.
So that there's no friction.
This is getting
Best
a little
advice
bit.
I've ever had.
This is getting a little bit, iffy for a Sunday, I think.
Near the mark.
I think we're probably.
Mind you could have done with the right mic on your gonad, couldn't you?
I'd say this is a true story as well. Eden Hazard, if you had said to me, what is he going to celebrate with, it was definitely going to be a beer. Because
bit of left,
he loves a beer, that fella. Next on the Sunday session.
I thought I heard the captain say.
Yes, Steve from Winchton has been in touch on Sounds of the Weekend. 81089 on the text. You can WhatsApp us 03717223344. Bruce Springsteen, pay me my money down for the Europa League bonus scam. We'll do more on that very shortly, and we'll be looking at Scotland's defeat to Japan. The fans weren't happy.
Pay me my money down.
Every Thursday we'll be joined in the studio by rapper and Spurs fan AJ Tracy. How are you?
How you doing, fella? Not too bad.
Good. Now, we spoke to you on the phone before. I've never met you, right?
You spoke to me on the phone before, yeah.
Okay, do I call you AJ, Trace?
You call me whatever you want to call me.
But what do your pals call you?
AJ. Age,
yeah. Okay,
Age.
Nice to meet you, Age.
If we've had a beer, it's Age.
Age, okay.
Yeah,
we should do that, Mark, on Thursday.
Yeah?
Thursday's a great night to go out.
I heard the fridge is stocked over here. I might be here for...
Forget the fridge. We go across the road for a few. Can I ask what AJ stands for?
AJ, it's a multitude of things, but it's just a stage name that I thought makes sense. It sounds like a normal name, though. It sounds like a government name, which is why I picked that rather than one of these crazy aggressive rapper names. I thought something that will sell, something that a mother's not going to look at. Their kid wants the AJ Tracy record. They're going to be that name's crazy. I'm not going to buy the record. Just a nice, normal...
It's a friendly name.
It's a friendly name.
Yeah.
It's marketable.
Well, obviously it is because it works.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You said it, not me. Thank you.
Thanks so much. so much for coming in.
No, thanks for
What are
having
you
me,
up to at the moment? We're going to talk loads. I know you're a big Spurs.
By the way, if I wasn't here with you, I'd be watching this. By the way, like,
how nice
of
is
course
that?
I would. I watch
Is it your favourite show?
Yeah, it is. It is definitely.
Oh, that's nice of you. Well, you're our favourite artist.
Oh, appreciate that. Thank you. You had to say that.
You know.
Should we ruin the conversation by talking?
Go ahead. Let's do it.
You're a Spurs fan, right?
I am. I'm bracing myself. I am.
Are you looking forward to football in the Championship next season?
Look, the truth of the matter is, I as a fan, I can't do anything about the situation. Is that accepted? Yeah, is that granted?
Yeah.
So the banter, I have to take it. Of course, I have to say, yeah, give it. That's fine. That's fair enough. Because if the shoe was on the other foot, I'll be doing the same. So that's fine. Yeah. We're gonna get out of the way. Second of all, if we
Sunday afternoon, it's talkSPORT. It's the Sunday session with me, Sam Matterface, and the former Arsenal winger Perry Groves. This hour, I'll be looking back at Scotland's defeat against Japan, the latest on the Spurs' managerial position, and Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool return. But across the sporting world right now, Chelsea have beaten Aston Villa by 4-3 in the WSL. West Ham won London City Lionesses 1. It finished earlier on today. West Ham 11th in the table. London City now up to 6th. Leicester 0, Brighton 0. Leicester at bottom of the pot. That one kicked off at 3 o'clock, so it's only 8 minutes old. In WSL 2, it's third against first with Crystal Palace 1, Charlton 1. Second place Birmingham are being held 0-0 away at Bristol City right now. Nottingham Forest against relegation threatened Durham 2-1 up. The tricky trees, and Sunderland need Newcastle by 1-0. Super League underway at 3 o'clock this afternoon. 9th against 7th. Hull FC Catalans Dragons yet to find a score there yet. At 5:30, it's the Leeds Rhinos against the Warrington Wolves, who are 2 points off the leaders Wigan with 2 games in hand. South Sharks against Bath has just got underway. Bath 6 points off the leaders Northampton with a game in hand. And the Championship of Rugby, Nottingham 0, Chinnor 0. That kicks off at 3 o'clock. Both level on 60 points at 8 and 6 in the table. In the men's singles final at the Miami Open, Yuri Lehecka and Yannick Sinner get underway at 8 o'clock tonight. Gary Woodland leads the Houston Open by 1 shot on 18 under. Get his final round underway, 5:55 UK time. Alex Fitzpatrick, father of Matt Fitzpatrick, has won the Indian Open on the DP World Tour. And this morning, the Japanese Grand Prix was won by Mercedes driver Kimi Antonelli. You're up to date on the Sunday session from talkSPORT. And let's talk about Scotland. Steve Clarke said he was a little bit surprised that there were a few boos at Hampden last night as Scotland began their World Cup preparations with a narrow 1-0 friendly defeat by Japan. Substitute Junya Ito scored a late winner. It was typical of Japan, to be honest with you. The goal they scored fast, quick, incisive. I think England will have a little bit of their work cut out against a team described to me this week as having the potential to be the best Japan side ever. Steve Clarke's side next in action against Ivory Coast on Tuesday night at Everton's Hill Dickinson Stadium. Paul Mitchell is the talkSPORT reporter for Scotland. He was at Hampden on Saturday night and he joins us now. Hi, Paul.
Sam, how are you, sir?
Lovely to speak to you once again. Japan, as I've said, very good team, actually. A lot more World Cup experience than Scotland. Scott McTominay denied early on. Really good save by the goalkeeper from a close-range effort from him. And then a late Japanese winner. What did you make of the overall performance?
So, Sam, if you put it in context, most of these guys that started for Scotland yesterday are going to the World Cup. There's little doubt about it. They had nothing to prove. Arguably, there was 2 players there of note, Nathan Patterson of Everton and Tommy Conway of Middlesbrough. Nathan Patterson, I thought, looked good in patches. He's obviously rusty, not played an awful lot of football. And Tommy Conway, I didn't really think took his chance, to be fair. I don't think there was a great deal of service to him, and I didn't think he was brilliant. Overall, it was typical Scotland in a friendly. The atmosphere was very flat. As you can imagine, after Denmark, which was like a rock concert, this was like a bad recital, and the players never really got moving. And it was just one of those games. Now, you mentioned Japan. Interestingly, they started with a lot of guys who were on the verge of going to the World Cup, and then they brought on the experience. And when they brought on the experience, boy, did they look good. I mean, the goal was a beautiful 5-man move into the middle, back to goal, laid it off to Ito. Beautiful. I mean, his first touch is amazing to take it away, and then he quickly finished past Angus Gunn. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to be really interested to see how England do against Japan, depending on what sides they put out, because I really like watching, certainly the last 25 minutes of Japan. I thought they were terrific.
Yeah, super. They made 10 changes, didn't they, to the outfield in the second half. It's Haiti, Morocco and Brazil in the summer. Before that, obviously, they played Japan. Now they're going to play the Ivory Coast. Now, Steve Clarke actually always picks these difficult friendlies, doesn't he? And often the results create concern and people get a little bit sort of worried about it. But what will Steve Clarke actually have learnt from the game? Because he wants proper competition, doesn't he, before his team go to the big tournaments?
I mean, Scotland were made to work hard and defend particularly well. I thought the best two players on the pitch for me were Jack Henry and Scott McKenna at centre-half. John Souttar's gone off the boil. He might not be an automatic start. Grant Hanley's been injured. He might not play from the start either. So it was interesting to see Henry and McKenna. I'd keep them in place for the Ivory Coast game, just to give another pairing together. I think that would be interesting. You're not going to learn anything new about Andy Robertson, Scott McTominay, John McGinn. I was a little bit disappointed. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of Billy Gilmore. I thought he came on too late. And Andy Irving of West Ham, I would have liked to have seen come on and been given a real main role. Now, hopefully he'll get that chance against Ivory Coast because, goodness forbid, but, if something happens to John McGinn or Scott McTominay, Scotland need to be able to say, right, we've got confidence in X or Y to play, especially in the opening fixture against Haiti. So I'll be really interested to see what his team selection is on Tuesday night.
Paul, a couple of things on John McGinn. I'm a massive fan of. I would be tending to play him more central because I think he gives you control over the game, whether he plays as a two, holders, or he plays in sort of the midfield in the 10 position in the middle of the three, and also both ends of the pitch. The goalkeeping side, obviously Angus Gunn played against Japan. Then you look at the other goalkeepers. You've got Craig Gordon, obviously, who's got a bad shoulder injury, and they think that he might be fit. Other than him, who's got 83 caps. None of the other Scottish goalkeepers have got more than 5 caps.
But Angus Gunn's not playing football for Nottingham Forest, is he? He's played 5 times for Scotland this season and once for Nottingham Forest.
But he's the experienced goalkeeper with 21 caps. And at the other end of the field, it was just like that Japan were very good technically. They kept the ball very well. But from Scotland's point of view, it's just that creativity, in that final third. When you're playing Brazil, let's be honest, you're probably not going to get anything out of the game. It's the Haiti and Morocco games where you've got to basically get 4 points to give yourself a chance of going through. So it's that creativity. And would you give Ryan Christie more of a go? Because when I see him play for Bournemouth, he looks like he's got that little bit of spark.
I like Ryan Christie. I mean, I think he'll start ahead of the likes of Conway. I'm not convinced about the midfield. We've got so many talented players there, McGinn, McTominay, McLean, Ferguson. How do you slot them all in? Scott McTominay and John McGinn could play in the same position. You could play, as you mentioned, John McGinn a little bit further back. They'll definitely both start. Quite where they'll start in the whole midfield of things, I'm not quite sure. I think Scotland, what disappointed me was we were rarely on the front foot yesterday. It was one of these games when Japan were attacking to the left-hand side. You were watching to the left-hand side virtually all the time. Scotland's attacks were non-existent. Lyndon Dykes, worked particularly hard, but is he going to sparkle against Haiti? Is he a natural chance taker? I mean, in terms of players who weren't available yesterday, Shea Adams was available off the bench. Lawrence Shankland, who I think is possibly the best pick to play up front for Scotland, was taken to the last Euros and got very little time. I think he's back in form. I'd like to see Lawrence Shankland once he's fit. It would be interesting if he plays against Curacao because he's missed so much time for Hearts, but he has had a really good season. But yeah, Ryan Christie probably a bit more creative. Andy Robertson got himself forward a couple of times yesterday. But yeah, I think the problem, you've mentioned it, is I don't think we've really got that massive goal-scoring threat, even in Shea Adams, and that's going to be a problem at the end of the day.
Scotland boss Steve Clarke was very critical of the fans booing at full time. This is what he said.
And disappointed me, I have to be honest.
Yeah, you'd expect a bit more kind of understanding, maybe in a friendly game, given they're going to a World Cup in a few months.
Listen, it's just the modern way. It seems to be now, if you lose a game, you get booed. So you just got to deal with it.
But it disappoints you?
Disappoints me.
Is he right to suggest that, Paul? Because Scotland ranked 40th in the world, only just snuck into their first World Cup since 1998. Japan regulars at World Cups, 18th in the world. It was always going to be a difficult game, and it is a preparation friendly.
It wouldn't occur to me to think that anybody would boo Scotland, yesterday. I mean, it's typical friendly stuff from Scotland. You know, Japan are a good side. You mentioned they're ranked 19 in the world. They're World Cup regulars. They played well. And if you appreciated good football, you would appreciate how Japan played yesterday and how they went about. I mean, the goal is fabulous. It's an absolutely fabulous goal. So you've got to appreciate that. Scotland worked hard. They didn't give up a whole host of chances against Japan. And it is a friendly at the end of the day. Now, you could argue that it's not particularly friendly price at 35 quid to go watch Scotland. You know, it's not like they cut the prices. So I think people still expect a level of entertainment. And certainly there wasn't a level of entertainment there yesterday. But I was surprised at the booing. I didn't see why. I didn't see the point of it. And I don't think it adds anything to the Scotland team. They're not going to come off and, I think, be particularly bothered by it. They'll just shake their head as Steve Clarke does and think, yeah, sometimes that's just what fans do. Don't get me wrong, Sam. If fans want to boo a team, that's entirely up to them. They've paid their money. They can do what they want. But I didn't think it was a booing-type performance.
Paul, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Cheers,
It'll be
Paul.
interesting to see them play on Tuesday night. They play at Everton's Hill Dickinson Stadium, which is was a little bit strange, really, but interesting. You know, big crowd.
You know, the thing what Paul was saying there is, like Japan, since the last World Cup, they've lost 5 out of 40 games. They're a good technical side. They had Mitoma on the bench. He comes off the bench yesterday. I know that there was the possible same again. So, and as Paul said there, the Scotland, it wasn't if there was lack of effort and application. There might have been a little bit of lack of quality, but it wasn't if it was an abject performance. You know what I mean? So, and we know that the travelling Scotland fans, when they go to World Cup, they're going to be unbelievable. There's going to be no booing of their team when they're playing the World Cup. Not a chance.
A bit more breaking news for you. Reaching us this afternoon on talkSPORT. Martin Zubamendi has left the Spanish national team training camp. The Arsenal footballer suffering from discomfort in his right knee, and he will not be available for their game against Egypt. He becomes the 10th Arsenal player to withdraw from international duty. If these players are actually injured, Arsenal are going to struggle to put out a side against Southampton next week, aren't they?
Tell you what, when he came on for Rodri for that that was a tough 13 minutes, I'm telling you. Mikel is a control freak, right? Mikel Arteta. He's got everybody. You know, to find your phone, you know, on your iPhones, whatever. He'd have been in contact with every one of them, and he would have said before they go, you're going to have a twinge. Don't you dare play more than one game. That's allegedly, in my opinion, right? So that's not coincidence. He's just channeling.
He's been relaxing. He's fine.
He's just chilling out because he knows that he's given the players the remit that he would want, allegedly, and they're all going to come back, and it will be touch and go whether they're going to be fit for the Southampton game on Saturday.
Sorry, Ollie is our producer today. Are we a little bit concerned that Perry's going to get a text message in the next 10 minutes and he's only going to do half the show just in case?
By the way, we need a long throw, but they haven't got Giacomo shorts. They haven't got XXXL. Their elastic don't go that big, trust me.
Right, next on the Sunday session.
Reach out, touch faith.
Days in Somerset for the Scott McTominay story. It's Depeche Mode and Personal Jesus. That's after Diego Maradona Jr. compared Scott McTominay to Jesus and said the only other icon that was bigger than Scott in the world of Napoli was his dad. That's right, Diego Maradona himself. Keep your text messages coming in 81089. You can WhatsApp us. It's 03717 2233 44 sounds of the weekend this weekend. No bonuses for winning the Europa League from Chelsea because it's not big enough competition. Scott McTominay is Jesus in Naples anyway. Next we'll be discussing Jurgen Klopp's return to Liverpool. Stick with us.
Stefan, the cost of missing out on the Champions League. If I throw four at you here, Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester United or Newcastle. Missing out in Champions League, who would feel it most?
Yeah, I think Newcastle would definitely feel it the most, just because the base they're coming off is that much smaller. So therefore, the proportion that's associated with Champions League football is that much bigger. And they probably did something like £55 million of UEFA money. And then on top of that, obviously had the 5 home games on top, which are or 6, probably 6 actually. When you, I think they had a playoff. So that's 6 home games on top. I mean, that's obviously very significant. So you're talking about 75 million quid out of revenue of, let's say, 300 this season. You know, it's quite a big drop next season if it's not there. Now, obviously, they may get Europa or the conference. The conference doesn't really move the dial at all. And Europa, you have to win it really to make a meaningful difference. And that then brings you a Champions League place. So I think Newcastle will feel it the most. But it will definitely be painful for the others. It will be painful for Manchester United. It doesn't look like they're going to miss out. But if they did, of course, that would be the second consecutive.
Sounds of the weekend on the Sunday session on talkSPORT.
Oh, if you can squeeze the Doobie Brothers into Sounds of the Weekend, then you're doing a good job.
Can't beat a bit of Michael McDonald.
I love it, Kat. Kerry in Swansea, thank you very much for the Scott McTominay story. Jesus is just all right. And Taxman by the Beatles for Chris in Newcastle on the Europa League bonus scandal that Chelsea didn't rank the Europa League high enough to give their players bonuses when they won it in 2019. If you want to contribute by sending us your songs for those stories, Scott McTominay being rated almost as highly as Diego Maradona by Diego Maradona Jr. And the Europa League bonus scandal, 03717223344 is the WhatsApp number. You can text us 81089. This is what's happening across the sporting world right now. Leicester City 0, Brighton 0, and the WSL kicks off at 3 o'clock, the 24 minutes in. Brighton 9 points above Leicester, who are bottom. They're comfortably mid-table. In WSL 2, Crystal Palace 2, Charlton Athletic 1. Charlton leading Birmingham at the top of the table, but they suffered a setback. Palace are now in front. They're third in the division and hoping to close the gap. Bristol City 0, Birmingham City 0. Fifth against second in the WSL 2. Nottingham Forest against Durham, 2-1 to Nottingham Forest. Sunderland 1-0 up against Newcastle United. All those games started at 2 o'clock. Hull FC lead the Catalan Dragons by 6 points to nothing in Super League. That kicked off at 3 o'clock. It's 9th versus 7th. South Sharks 0, Bath 7 in Prem Rugby. Bath 6 points off the leaders Northampton with a game in hand. They're currently in second. It's 7-7 Nottingham Chinnor in the Champ Rugby. And you're up to date on the Sunday session. Jurgen Klopp received a hero's welcome on his return to Anfield in the Liverpool Legends charity match on Saturday in aid of the LFC Foundation. The former Reds boss was the star attraction as the Legends 11 took on another former Klopp team in Borussia Dortmund, with the match finishing 2-2 after the game. The former Liverpool boss spoke about his delight at being back at Anfield.
Good to be back. Even the sun came out since I'm back this morning. Was great. I thought Liverpool, you are really kidding me. But now good weather again, and being here, I'm here for the foundation. That's all I am. And I saw the level of football I'm probably able to play now. Walking or slow running football. I don't even know the big difference there, but it's cool. Good to be back. Good to be back for the right cause, for the good cause, and yeah, hopefully we can keep up the great work these people are doing it.
That was Jurgen Klopp speaking about the Liverpool FC Foundation. He also talked a little bit about Mo Salah as well. I mean, especially considering how many Liverpool fans feel about Arne Slot at the moment. Klopp going back into Anfield is interesting, isn't it? You know, being in the dugout this weekend. I mean, he's not going to go back as the manager.
No, he's made it clear he's retired. He's done his stuff.
We're not retired.
Well, no, he's not. He doesn't want to go back into the manager side where it's 24/7.
He did open the door a little bit to that last week, but not Liverpool. I don't think.
Not. I thought it was in international football. He opened the door to.
Possible, something like that.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I don't think he wants to 24/7, intensity of being a club manager. And I actually think he's done really well, Jurgen Klopp, because he knew that obviously he'd made his mark on Liverpool's history, where he turned the club around completely to make them like a major force again. Won Premier League, Champions League, FA Cup, League Cup twice, UEFA Super Cup, the FIFA Club World Cup as well. So, and the football as well. There's been a bit of criticism this season about Premier League being a little bit sort of tepid sometimes. Was never going to get that from a Jurgen Klopp team. It was out and out, just like pressing and taking the game to the opposition, and it was risk to reward sort of football. But I thought he's done really well because he said, right, I've had my time. He let Liverpool fans know, he got his send-off, and then he didn't want to come back to a Liverpool game because he wanted Arne Slot just to get on with it and, put his mark on the Liverpool side, which he did, and they win the title in that first season, which is like unbelievable. And everybody says it was Jurgen Klopp's side. That's big shoes to fill when you're going in like a legendary manager. And Arne Slot did brilliantly because he just tweaked it. He didn't go for the full out game. He just played two holding midfield players and let obviously the front four get on with it. So he did tweak it a little bit, but I thought Jurgen Klopp has handled himself absolutely perfectly because he didn't want to put Arne Slot under any pressure.
He also spoke about Mo Salah. I mentioned that earlier on. He said the specific kind of player is irreplaceable. I'm not sure there is even another one existing out there. There are other people playing on that wing with different strengths and qualities, but it is the number that Mo produces that is unmatched in that position. The numbers for a winger are ridiculous. For a striker, they're pretty much unmatched. So if it's impossible, why should you try? What will Liverpool do to cover the absence of Mo Salah?
The thing is, you're not going to replace Mo Salah because you're not going to get a Mo Salah out there who is prime Mo Salah. Because if you go back, Sam, when he came from Roma, I think they paid 36 million and it was like going up to 43. People thought that was a gamble because he'd struggled at Chelsea, obviously gone into Serie A and done really well. And at Chelsea, it was wrong time, wasn't it? Wrong place because he was just a bit too young, didn't fit the module with the Jose Mourinho sort of sides. So he comes back, and in his first season, he got 32 Premier League goals in 36 games.
Unreal.
And if you look at his numbers...
It was that time in Fiorentina and Roma that was really helped him.
Yeah, and that helped him grow. Probably the style of football helped him at his age over there as well, where it wasn't as physical. And then coming into Premier League, people thought he'd struggle with physicality, which he didn't. If you look at his stats, if you're a winger, right, and winger stats are normally... I know we're going to assists now as well, but normally if you're a 1 in 4, 1 in 5 goal scoring winger, then you've got really good stats, and you add your assist to that as well. He's won in under 2 games. He averages a goal every 1.7 games throughout his Liverpool career. 255 goals in 435 games. That is mind-blowing stats for a centre forward, let alone a wide player. And he was obviously massive in Liverpool winning the title last season because Liverpool could be poor in games and then he'd pull some brilliance out. Paul Merson, who's obviously best mate, he describes him as one of the best, the worst best players that he's ever seen. Well, what he means by that is he could be really, really poor for 15 minutes, 20 minutes in a game, and you think he's out of it, and then he does something like out of this world and cuts in from the left and bends it in with his right and bends it in with his left foot. So you're not going to find a Mo Salah because people didn't think Mo Salah was going to go on to the levels that he's gone to when Liverpool bought him. So you're going to have to find someone who's got different qualities, who's maybe you're going to have to develop. But the thing that he did brilliant, as I said earlier, is Liverpool didn't need to develop him because he had that first season where he just ripped it up and then he just went from strength to strength.
Igor Tudor is no longer the manager of Tottenham Hotspur. Igor Tudor is out of the door at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. He has been replaced. More details on the way very shortly. Spurs fans, we want your reaction right now. Igor Tudor has been removed as manager. He's obviously been through a very difficult time. He's lost his father over the last week, but also they've lost far too many games, which has been a real problem for Tottenham Hotspur. Our thoughts are with him. There's no doubt about that because he has gone through a very difficult week. But the Tottenham hierarchy have decided to remove him from his position, and it's going to be a new man in the dugout by the time that Tottenham return to action in a couple of weeks' time. They're not in action next week because they're not in the FA Cup. They won't return to action until they play their next Premier League game, which is upcoming in 2 weeks' time. They had a 24-day break between matches after the last round of Premier League matches. But Igor Tudor will not be in the Tottenham Hotspur dugout when the 17th place team in the Premier League continue their fight against relegation with a game away at Sunderland on Sunday, the 12th of April. Perry Groves, what's your immediate reaction?
I don't think it's a surprise. I think it's probably a mutual agreement from both parties. And from Tottenham's point of view, obviously they want to look after Igor Tudor on the personal side, with the bereavement that he's gone through. But on the football side of it, they had to be seen to be making a change because it had got that bad.
This is what they've said in the last few minutes. We can confirm that it has been mutually agreed for head coach Igor Tudor to leave the club with immediate effect. Tomislav Rogic and Ricardo Ragnacci have also left their respective roles of goalkeeping coach and physical coach. We thank Igor, Tomislav and Ricardo for their efforts during the past 6 weeks in which they worked tirelessly. We also acknowledge the bereavement that Igor has recently suffered and send our support to him and his family at this difficult time. An update on a new head coach will be provided in due course. That's what they're saying. I'll get Alex Crook on in just a second. It means that we have a new entry in the top 10 shortest managerial reigns in Premier League history. Number one, still Sam Allardyce at Leeds with 30 days. Ange Postecoglou, 39 days at Nottingham Forest. Les Reed at Charlton is still at number 3 with 40 days. Igor Tudor has been relieved of his duties after 43 days in charge. He has been replaced. 037 17 22 33 44. You can WhatsApp us your reaction to that, Spurs fans. You can get in touch via text. It's 81089. You can call us as well. It's 03 717 22 33 44. Alex Crook, our chief football correspondent, will flesh out the details of that and give you a little bit more about what could be happening next at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in just a second. So stick here on the Sunday session.
You played in career in Japan, didn't you? World Cup in 2002. Did you find it hard, the weather conditions to play in?
They are tough, and in South Africa as well. We played a game, and then the altitude, the ball moves different and everything. And if you're not used to it, as we know, we all love to go on holiday in the summer, but playing football, running around in that heat and that weather, it takes its toll at the time, and we're just not a nation that's used to that. So that's one of the major things I look at when it comes to that tournament being over there.
What about strikers? We know Harry Kane's going to go, but if you looked at the Euros, he was injured, wasn't he? And Gareth Southgate was still playing game. Maybe they didn't trust other strikers in the squads. What do you think of tonight? Do you think Solanke and Calvert-Lewin have to put in a performance?
I think it's their chance of breaking in, isn't it? It's their chance of solidifying themselves in that talk of being the one to take over, because we really don't know who's going to take over from Harry Kane or what it's going to look like after he leaves. I was always an advocate.
Spurs 0, Nottingham Forest 1, right on 45 minutes by Igor Jesus. Spurs 0, Nottingham Forest 2. It's Morgan Gibbs-White, 3 minutes to go. Spurs 0, Forest 3 for Taiwo Awoniyi to slide home inside the 6-yard box.
This guy's come in completely out of his depth. 4 losses in the last 5. I just see nothing in their performances that indicates to me that he's the man for the job.
As a group, it's probably one of the worst playing groups I've seen in my 30+ years watching Tottenham.
Breaking news in the last few minutes that Igor Tudor has been relieved of his duties by mutual consent. Tottenham Hotspur and Igor Tudor have parted ways. 43 days in charge. It's not been a great tenure, Perry.
No, I think we was there, weren't we, at his first game in charge at the North London derby, and the atmosphere was unreal, Sam. It was electric atmosphere, and we saw him with the players warming up, wasn't he? He was a big figure, like 6'4", just walking around, wasn't he, making sure that he was in charge and in control. And in the end, he couldn't change the culture of the players around.
So the results so far: a loss to Arsenal by 4-1, a loss away at Fulham, a loss at home to Crystal Palace, defeat by Atletico Madrid over 2 legs, a draw at Liverpool seemed to be the highlight, the moment that things were going to turn for him. Immediately after that, the next Sunday, they were beaten at home by Nottingham Forest, and that was his lot. 43 days in charge. 03717 22 33 44. If you're a Tottenham fan, you want to call us with your reaction to the latest news, as Tottenham Hotspur have decided to remove Igor Tudor from his position as head coach. It means that they are looking for a third man to take charge of the team this season. Who is going to be next? 03717 22 3344. 17th in the Premier League. Over the course of the season, it's been a very difficult time as well. We had Sean Dyche on our network yesterday. He said that a lot of people were discussing with him in the pub the previous night that he was in talks with Tottenham. He denied that. He didn't say he wouldn't go in there, but he did say that he wasn't quite involved in that process so far. And as far as I understand it, there's a few other managers that have been rumoured to be taking over that aren't being spoken to as well. So who is? Let's find out in the company of our chief football correspondent, Alex Crook, who thought he was having international break Sunday off, but he's not. He's with us now. Hello, Alex.
Good afternoon. We good?
All right, Crook, you haven't picked up a little niggle or a little knock somewhere, have you?
I felt my hamstring a bit after exertions with the boy.
Let me tell you, after last night's 2:30 a.m. finish in a little bar in Southsea, he was feeling his head this morning. That is for sure.
To be fair, you've got to let your body and your mind chill out, haven't you? That's exactly what Crookie was doing.
Well, we were a little bit late last night, that's for sure, and we did both wake up with headaches, Crook, but not as much of a headache as Tottenham Hotspur fans have been experiencing over the course of the season. So, Tudor is out. Let's first analyse that decision. Why did they make it now?
Well, I think it's been pretty clear that this would be the direction of travel. We reported last week on talkSPORT.com that Tottenham were actively considering another change of manager. Obviously, it was a sensitive and a delicate issue because he lost his father and obviously had to shoot straight back home after that Nottingham Forest defeat in Tottenham's last Premier League game without speaking to the media. And actually in the statement released in the last 10 minutes or so, Spurs have acknowledged that bereavement, and they say they continue to send Igor Tudor their support at this difficult time. So I think probably both parties have come to this decision. Very rarely are these managerial changes mutual, but it does feel like this one very much is. Obviously, he didn't get the results on the pitch, just that one win against Atletico Madrid in what was effectively a dead rubber. And Spurs have got a big problem now. 1 place, 1 point above the relegation places. West Ham, for me, are showing a lot more spirit than they are. Obviously, they were battered at home by Forest, another relegation rival. From what I'm told, nobody at this stage is lined up to come in and replace Igor Tudor. Now, that may sound odd, but they do have 2 weeks, Tottenham, until they next play again, because they're out of the FA Cup. Obviously, we're in the midst of an international break, the hierarchy there. So they are confident that they can put some contingency plans in place. Roberto De Zerbi is a name that's been mentioned. My information when it came to him has always been that if he did take this job at Tottenham, it would be at the end of the season and not now. Sean Dyche appeared to distance himself from taking over mid-season yesterday on talkSPORT, as you've already alluded to. And I think there are complications when it comes to his Nottingham Forest payoff if he does come back so soon. Adi Hutter, former Monaco manager, is somebody who has been sounded out. But Does Ryan Mason come back into play as a potential interim until the end of the season? Robbie Keane maybe at Ferencváros, Tottenham legend. I know he's someone they admire, but again, I think he would want a longer term commitment. So it's really difficult to find this type of firefighter who's going to come in for the final 7 games and then potentially be happy just to walk off into the sunset.
I know you're pretty keen on Ryan Mason, aren't you? We were talking last night about it, and I think you think that that's probably the most likely situation at this moment. They haven't won any of their last 13 league matches, Tottenham. They've won just 30 points from 31 Premier League games this season, which accounting for 3 points for a win over all time. This is their joint lowest return after 31 games of a league campaign, along with 19, 14, 15. This is their worst season for well over 100 years, Perry. It does mean that emergency action has got to be taken. Who are they going to get hold of? And if they haven't got someone lined up, why haven't they got someone lined up?
You'd like to think that they've got a list of probably 5 managers that they would be approaching. And from the outside, I think Vinay Venkatesham, obviously he's in charge of the football side of it. If you was talking to him and advising him, the manager coming in now has to know Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. They have to get what it's about. And this is about a feel-good factor now, because we've been at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, said we was there for the North London derby. The atmosphere was unreal. Before the game against Nottingham Forest, the Spurs fans did their best, to get behind their side, and they conceded Igor Jesus' goal, and then they just completely capitulated. So this has to be an appointment which is short-term. There's no long-termism in this, but it has to be a feel-good factor. Now, I get Crookie, obviously, with Ryan Mason, because he knows the club. It's like Harry Redknapp has said, if you did that, you need a younger coach going with him, like a Tim Sherwood or Ryan Mason. Yeah, Glenn Hoddle, obviously, springs to mind as an absolute Tottenham icon, Tottenham legend. So you need something that is going to give some positivity to the Spurs fans, because that's what they're going to feed off from now until the end of the season. Their home games, they need 6 to 7 points, Sam, which I think will see them survive. They play Leeds and Wolves.
I don't see where they're coming from, though, Perry. I mean, I've got the fixtures in front of me here.
Hold on, Crook. You can come back to that in just a second. 03717 2233 44. Let's get some Spurs fans involved as well. We want you to give us a call right now. 03717 2233 44. You can WhatsApp us as well. 03717 2233 44, or text us 81089. Crook, talk to me about those fixtures then.
Well, I'm looking at them now. Sunderland away is their next Premier League game. Not many teams go to the Stadium of Light and win. Brighton at home. Brighton, after a sticky patch mid-season, have found some form. Wolves away, which looks the most winnable, but Molineux's been a tough place to go of late under Rob Edwards as well. And then you get into May, the final 4 games of the season. Villa away. Villa competing for a Champions League place. Leeds at home. Leeds, another team that Spurs will feel they can drag into trouble, but again, not easy pickings. Chelsea away, and I know there's a lot of Chelsea fans who are hoping that could be the day that seals Tottenham's fate in obviously what is a grudge match. And then Everton at home on the last day of the season, with Everton potentially in with a shout of European football. I don't see where 6 or 7 points are coming from.
Well, you know what it is, Cookie? It's the Leeds and Wolves game. That's what I've said from now. They need 6 points out of those 2 games.
Aston Villa on that's what we think will probably end up being on a Sunday evening. Because it's in a week where Aston Villa might be playing in European football. Is live on talkSPORT, Aston Villa Tottenham. Make sure you join us for that. Before that, they've got Sunderland and Brighton and Wolves, so they could be in some predicament by then. Wayne Burnett, under-21 manager, knows the youngsters could bring some freshness, says one texter. Tudor going is the best for the man and best for the club, says John Webster. Spurs made a mistake, not the right fit for club or circumstances. It's clear Spurs don't need a tactician. They need a character, someone to lighten the mood, motivate the players. Harry Redknapp is the answer. Whether you want to hear it or not, Harry is the answer. That's Webbo. Never won a game, says Ty. He's probably the worst manager in Premier League history. Are Spurs paying the price, Alex Crook, for dawdling over the future of Thomas Frank, who failed to win 24 games before he was relieved of his duties? If they had made that decision earlier and had a clearer plan as to who was going to come in, would they be in this predicament?
I don't think so, Sam, and I've said it before, and Spurs fans don't like me saying it. I don't think they'd be in this predicament if Daniel Levy was still calling the shots, because he wouldn't have allowed that Thomas Frank situation, which, to be fair, you identified as being an issue in terms of players not respecting the manager very early on. He wouldn't have allowed that to drag on as long as he did. I don't think he would have stumbled into this appointment of Igor Tudor, which I think all of us felt was a curveball too far at the time, and so it's proven. And they're now in a situation, as I say, with 7 games to go. I think a lot of managers will look at the situation and think, well, I'm not sure they can get out of this. Why would I put my reputation on the line, especially as at the moment we understand Spurs are only looking for another caretaker until the end of the season, when if they do stay up, I think all their eggs will very much be in the Roberto De Zerbi basket.
Alex Crook, thank you very much. Do you want to stay and take some calls, or you've got other things to do now?
Well, I think I should probably try and make some calls and find out what on earth Tottenham are going to do.
What a great excuse that is for having the rest of Sunday off.
Do you know what? He's never off, is he, Crook? He's always on it, isn't he? Always.
Unless it's International Sunday and someone's making him a roast dinner.
And then when he heard the news that
Igor,
he was like,
he panicked.
Really? Quick, I better get my signal.
Right, okay. Tom is a Spurs fan. Hello, Tom.
Hi, you right, guys?
Hello, Tom.
We're fine. What do you make of this decision?
I think it was the right decision. But we need to it's got to be Harry Redknapp with Ryan Mason, Tim Sherwood, like you boys have been saying. It's got to be someone that knows the club, because whoever comes in like a De Zerbi, if we get relegated, they don't care. They're going to walk off into the sunset, because that is what this next job is going to be. It's going to be 7 games. You've got to keep Tottenham in the Premier League.
And what you've got to do as well, Tom, is you've got to get the Spurs fans on side. You've got to get them because at the Tottenham website, if they're on side and the place is rocking, the next home game you have, it will be buzzing. If there's a manager and the coaches come in that know about the club and care about the club.
Yes, yeah, for sure. I think Thomas Frank never warmed to the Tottenham fans. He was always talking about how good Arsenal were, and from hearing what's happened inside the club, the players didn't like that, and the fans definitely didn't like that. And then Tudor come in, and we played Arsenal, and he started talking about how good they were. And you cannot have someone that is not against Tottenham, but talking about how good Arsenal are. It's all about Tottenham. You have to be focused on Tottenham. Like you said, we've got to get the fans on side. And I think someone like Harry Redknapp, Tim Sherwood said a lot all over the media saying how he can get the fans on side. And I think he would. If he come in, Harry Redknapp come in, Ryan Mason, they know the club, they love the club, they want the club to stay up. It's got to be someone that loves Tottenham.
Tom, I know you love Tottenham. Obviously, it's in your blood and in your. If you're being honest, what do you think the chance of you staying up are?
Well, I've been saying since early January, when we was about 12 to 14 points clear of the relegation zone, that we was in a relegation battle. So now the fact that we're only 1 point above it, I'm extremely worried, I think.
I'd be interested to find out who Tottenham fans blame for this situation, because, like we suggested to Alex Crook, after failing to win 24 of his games, and they waited a long time to decide to pull the trigger on Thomas Frank. I think Thomas Frank's a good manager. I think he's going to have a great career as a coach, but it wasn't working out at Spurs. They took a long time to decide to move on from him, and it didn't seem as if they had a great plan when they did. So who's at fault here?
I think it's right at the very top. Joe Lewis and Enoch, they've made poor decisions throughout their time at Spurs. And I also think it's been a long time coming. I think you've had Harry Kane and Son scoring loads of goals for us for the last 10, 15 years. And if you took away those goals, we'd probably be in this situation every single season. And it was never acted upon from the top, whether it was Daniel Levy, the 2 new guys that are there now, Vinay and Lange. They don't seem to have a clue. We waited all summer to find that replacement big name for Son, and we were talking about Eze. Then that went quiet. We went in for Gibbs-White. That all got messed up. Then we finally, when the season started, went in for Eze and didn't want to offer him as much money. We could have got it done weeks in advance. But then, Sod's Law, Arsenal get an injury and they go in and get the man they want. And he's also scored 4 goals against us in 2 games?
5.
So I think ultimately it's all from the top.
03717223344. Tom, thank you very much. We're going to go through loads of calls in just a second. Sean Dyche, get him in now, says David. I'd take 2 team managers' appointments of Ryan Mason, who knows the players, and Harry Redknapp as the leading coach, but as a pair, not on their own, he says. Anti-Spurs crook, no change there. Outside of that, no one of the board knows anything about football. Get Harry in or be doomed. I think we will go anyway, says Scott, the Spurs fan. 03717 223344 is the number to call. Matthew, Mark, Jacob, all willing to come on talkSPORT in just a second. We'll do that. Stick with us. It's talkSPORT. It's Sam Matterface with Perry Groves on the day that Igor Tudor has been relieved of his duties as the manager of Tottenham Hotspur. The two have parted ways by mutual consent after he failed to win a Premier League game in his 43 days in charge. He is now the person who's had the 4th shortest tenure in Premier League history. Dyche, says one texter on 81089. You can get in touch as well. It's 03717 223344. You can WhatsApp us on that number, and you can call us on that number as well. Rob says, what's his obsession with bringing in Redknapp back to Spurs? He wasn't 100%. Not Redknapp. Regarding the new Spurs manager, why would Harry Redknapp take the job? If he keeps Spurs up, it would be at the expense of West Ham. He wouldn't do that. That's Nick from Cornwall. I'm not too sure about that. If they get Harry in, says Astrid, not only the Tottenham fans will be behind them this season, the whole country will as well. That's Astrid from Chester. And Tom, the Spurs fan, says Spurs are an absolute shambles, and I do not trust these clowns in charge to get the appointment right. The board deserve to go down, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a double relegation. 03717 223344. Spurs sources have told talkSPORT that efforts have been made to try and secure Roberto De Zerbi before the season ends. There is no buy-in from the Italian to date. Spurs decided to bring forward talks with De Zerbi prior to approaching interim options. There remains optimism De Zerbi will consider a role if Spurs stay up, but he is yet to agree to join immediately. Maurizio Pochettino is the other name of interest for the summer, but he's currently working for the United States of America, and they've got a World Cup coming up. Interim options include Sean Dyche, who's already spoken on this station about the lack of contact that he's had. Adi Hutter, the former Monaco manager. Ryan Mason, who was formerly the interim boss at Tottenham. Chris Hughton, who is yet to be contacted. Robbie Keane, all waiting for formal contact at this stage due to Spurs prioritising an answer from De Zerbi about taking the role. 03717 223344. Hello, Matt. We're going to quickly get to you and Mark. What do you want to say?
Yeah, my issue is there's a lot of people talking about Harry Redknapp and Glenn Hoddle and things, and I just don't think there's a buy-in from the players. It's not just the fans. I've been going every game, and the fans are brilliant. We are behind you only had to see us in the high road before the last game. We are there but the players will not buy into a 70, 80-year-old man that don't
Who will
even
they
speak
buy
the same
into?
language.
They didn't buy into Igor Tudor, and they didn't buy into Thomas Frank.
That's the problem. I don't think there is an answer. I think seriously we are going to struggle to get those 6 points that we need. It is dire. The board have stitched us up, and we could have had De Zerbi. If they'd have acted and not had Tudor, someone like De Zerbi would have come at Christmas and should have replaced Frank, and these managers would then have been saying yes. They're now saying no because we're probably going to be in the Championship. And the board's time of delaying, you only have to look at the naming rights of Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. We're the only club. Even the Hill Dickinson is now known as the Hill Dickinson. We can't even get a stadium named in 5 years because the board take that long over everything and always make the wrong decision.
Appreciate you calling. 03717223344. We've got loads of calls to get through. We're going to do Mark before we get to 3 o'clock. Mark, what do you want to say?
How you doing, guys? You okay?
Hi, Mark.
We're good.
Yeah, I think every name that's been mentioned, the Harry Redknapp, Tim Sherwood, and Ryan Mason's a good one. But I think people are forgetting that we've got someone that used to play for Tottenham that's also very high, well-known and well-respected in Gus Poyet. I saw Gus yesterday, and he would love to have the job. I think with Harry Redknapp, I think managerial time is up for him, but we're looking for a sporting director. Why don't we bring Harry Redknapp in as a sporting director? He's got the gift of the gab to speak to players and try and get them into the club, and then have someone till the end of the season.
What you need right now is not to think about that. You need a short-term fix. You need someone to give you a sugar rush, don't you? You need someone who can come in and just get you pepped up for 3 games, win 9 points, get out of dodge. That's what you need right now. You know, you're telling me that Harry Redknapp couldn't do that? He seems to think he could.
I think he could, but I think he needs to have a younger model, someone who knows the current game more.
Well, he might have someone who comes in alongside him. That would probably be the ideal situation.
Tim Sherwood or Ryan Mason?
What about Jermaine Defoe then?
Well, Jermaine was there until recently, wasn't he? Part of the coaching staff behind the scenes.
Yeah,
he was in the academy. He was working with the kids.
Yeah, but I still think you need someone.
He's another one that could come in alongside Harry Redknapp. Then, if people are wanting Harry Redknapp, why don't they bring them in? Why don't they bring the names in like Jermaine Defoe, Robbie Keane, but there's other Tottenham players out there that we could get in until the end of the season.
But what's got to happen is someone's got to make a decision, make it quickly and make it strategically, because at the moment what they've been doing has been dawdling. They dawdled over Thomas Frank. They've taken too long to replace Tudor when it was clearly not going to work. Now they've made that decision. The next appointment has to be the right one because you cannot afford to go down. Mark, thank you very much.
Cheers, Mark.
03717223344. Doesn't matter who they get in, says Liam K. The players are all individuals. They don't play as a team. Let's squeeze in Jacob very quickly before 3 o'clock. Jacob, tell us what you're thinking right now as a Spurs fan.
Hi guys, you okay?
Hi Jacob.
We're good.
Oh yeah. It's just sad to see, to be honest. After winning our first trophy in years, there's a chance that we could be getting relegated. Never thought I'd see it for the football club. I think, like a few of the other guys have said, we've got to bring in someone who knows the football club. I think we will go down, but I think let's go down fighting. Someone who's going to go and fight for the badge, hopefully.
Jacob, would you take Glenn Hoddle?
I'd take Hoddle all day long.
What with another younger coach?
I think so. But Ryan Mason, Jermaine Defoe. I think I'd take Ryan Mason. I wanted him to do well at West Brom. Obviously, it didn't go as well as it could have for him. But yeah, there's no reason why he couldn't do a job.
What about Sean Dyche?
I think Dyche is one who's got the experience. He knows the Premier League. However, he doesn't know our football club like Hoddle, Ryan Mason. We want someone who knows the football club.
Okay, Jacob, thank you very much. 03717222344. Loads of people trying to get in touch on this, and we will take all of your calls. Keep them coming. Keep texting 81089 03717 2233 is the WhatsApp number. talkSPORT understand that Tottenham have made informal approaches to up to 8 caretaker managers before that first leg loss against Atletico Madrid in the Champions League, and thus feel prepared to make a quick appointment. Former Spurs manager Ange Postecoglou is another free agent, but he's not thought to be open to a short-term deal. Spurs are prepared to offer any candidate a significant bonus if they keep the club up. Bruno Salter is going to take training this week, but right now, as of this moment, they don't have anyone lined up. 03717 22 33 44. This is talkSPORT. With Mo Salah leaving, a lot of commentators have talked about the fact there's a lack of icons in the Premier League. Obviously, last year we had De Bruyne leave. You've had, over the course of the last few years, you've had Ronaldo back fleetingly. You've had Ibrahimovic here fleetingly. But the big boys don't come to the Premier League, do they? I mean, Haaland is probably the only global icon that is still there. Would that be fair? I mean, Son's not there anymore. De Bruyne's not there anymore. Salah's going. Kane, Ronaldo, Zlatan, all gone. Mbappe, Vinicius, Bellingham, Messi, Neymar. They would rather play elsewhere. Why?
That's a very good question. I don't think there's as many superstars today as the kind of has been in the past. Obviously, Messi, Ronaldo were the two superstars, and no one could get anywhere near them. And that doesn't mean to say that others like Neymar and Luis Suarez weren't. What I would say is, I think Real Madrid's, whatever you say about Manchester United, even when they're at their pomp, that I think are the biggest club in the world, the most attractive club in the world. You could argue maybe even Madrid in terms of just living there as well. I think is incredible. Barcelona too.
Afternoon, this is talkSPORT. It's Sam Matterface and Perry Groves on the Sunday session. There's no live Premier League football this weekend because it's international break, but let me tell you, it's all kicking off. Spurs have parted company with Igor Tudor. The manager is no longer in charge. Their next game against Sunderland away from home on the 12th of April will be taken by somebody else, but who that person is yet to be unknown. Igor Tudor's 43-day reign is over. In a statement that confirmed his departure just after 3:30 this afternoon. We'll get your reaction. 03717 22 33 44. If you want to get in touch, you can do. It's 810 89. Lots of texts coming in, lots of calls coming in, lots of Spurs people getting in touch with us today to talk about what next for Tottenham Hotspur after they parted company with their manager Igor Tudor. They're looking for a third gaffer to take charge of games this season. In the sporting world right now, Crystal Palace lead Charlton by 3-2. They kicked off at 2 o'clock. It's coming towards full time there. We'll give you all the full times very shortly, and we'll keep you up to date with all of the matches that have taken place throughout the course of the afternoon in the Prem Rugby, the Champ Rugby, and beyond as well. Super League underway. That started at 3 o'clock between the Hull FC and the Catalans Dragons. We'll update you very shortly. This is talkSPORT. It's the Sunday session.
Sam, you know that statement that you read out from Tottenham Hotspur where
I have it here. Do you want me to read it again?
Yeah, read it again, can you?
We can confirm that it has been mutually agreed for head coach Igor Tudor to leave the club with immediate effect. Thomas Rogic and Riccardo Ragnacci have also left their respective roles of goalkeeping coach and physical coach. We thank Igor, Tomislav and Riccardo for their efforts over the past 6 weeks in which they worked tirelessly. We also acknowledge the bereavement that Igor has recently suffered and send our support to him and his family at this difficult time. An update on a new head coach will be provided in due course.
I find that absolutely astonishing that they don't have anybody in place ready to go. After the Nottingham Forest game where it was an abject performance, they should have had a list of priorities from like probably 1 to 5 where they go and get in contact with a new manager and see if they want to come in straight away for a multi-million-pound business. Not to have a plan A, B, C, D, E is ridiculous.
Well, talkSPORT understands that they spoke to up to or made informal approaches to around 8 caretaker names before they were beaten by Atletico Madrid in that disastrous game in the Metropolitano. But the fact that they haven't got a clear plan with just 2 weeks ago before the next game and in a very difficult situation at the bottom of the Premier League seems surprising to me as well. 03717 223344. We'll get to Terry, to Mark, to Daniel, to Trevor, to Chris, to Paul very shortly. But first of all, let's speak to former Spurs captain Gary Mabbutt, who joins us on the line now. Hi, Gary.
Good afternoon, Sam. Hi, Perry.
Hello, Gary. Thanks for coming on the programme. What on earth is happening here? It is not a surprise that Igor Tudor has gone, but our reporter's telling us today that at the moment they don't have anyone lined up at this stage. How concerning is that?
Well, Sam, at the moment, to be honest, I think it was expected that Igor was going to be parting company with the club, purely because, given the situation after the last game, when obviously his father passed away, then I think that given the challenging circumstances that we're in at the club at the moment, I think trying to deal with all those things, I think would have been too much. And I think it was a good decision that obviously by mutual consent, they have parted company. And now, as you say, I mean, I just heard what Perry just said about what should be done and how things should be done in their places. To be honest, I think in this world of spin that we live in, and in this world of so many people throwing their hats into the ring and so many names being thrown forward, the club would have identified a number of people. As you mentioned just now, there were 8 previously. Also, they mentioned a number of people now that they'll be looking at, they really want to actually speak to, and they've got lucky enough, they've got these weeks to be able to go in and to be able to do their due diligence and trying to get the right person to come in, because it's not going to be all about tactics anymore. There are 7 games to play, 21 points to be won. Now it's all about a manager coming in and getting the players to believe in themselves, an arm around the shoulder, gets them to go out there on the field of play with the confidence that they know that they have, to be able to go out there and to play the game that they love playing and get the results. Now, we always say the minimum you can require is 100% effort, desire, determination and passion. Well, that's exactly where we are at the moment. There are teams fighting at the bottom, and it's not a position that we are used to being in. I've been at the club lucky enough for 43 years now, and I think this is probably the first time that I've really been worried about the R word. But you can be sure due diligence is taking place as we speak. Things will be trying to be put together, and as soon as they are ready and are sure of the person they want to come in, they will announce it.
Who's doing the due diligence?
The club is being done by Vinay Venkatesham and Johan Lange.
Thing is, I know that everybody says there's time. There isn't time because the international games finish on Tuesday. Whoever they want to put in place, Gary, surely they have to have him in place by Wednesday, Thursday at the latest, because they need to spend as much time with this group of players as possible. So I think you've got 48 hours to make a decision. And do you think it's imperative that whoever they get in, you said about the feel-good factor, that coach or coaches know about Tottenham Hotspur Football Club and they know about their history, they know about the traditions, because you spend a lot of time there obviously on match days. So it has to be a feel-good factor.
Absolutely, Perry, and I'm lucky to be a global club ambassador for Spurs, and I get to travel around the world, obviously with the club on certain events and certain trips that we do. And yeah, of course, Perry, we're looking at what's going to be best, and as I mentioned before, it's going to be somebody that's going to be able to come in there, and basically, we've got enough quality at the club at the moment within our players. Now, yes, despite all the injuries that we have, there are still enough qualities there to obviously to get us the points that we need to move up the Premier League table. And that is what a manager coming in will be looking at, just to basically get the best out of these players. And as I said before, arm around their shoulders, going in there, the belief, the confidence, that is what we're looking for. And so, yes, it's not easy for when you're looking at all these names being thrown forward and trying to take all the spin that comes from all the social media, all the outlets that we have in this day and age. But yes, it's not easy. But as you say, I agree totally with you that yes, somebody will have to be as soon as possible. As soon as they've actually done the due diligence and they are sure of the person that they want, then I'm sure that an announcement will be made, and I'm sure there will be ASAP.
You've got Spurs in your blood. You played for the club. You captained the club. You won trophies with that club. You're emotionally attached to it. Do you think that the person that comes in the door next needs to have that connection with Tottenham Hotspur to understand the gravity of this situation?
Again, it's a very good question, because all the names being put forward, I would say that probably 90% of them have had that link with the club. So yes, but having said that, there are still about another 10, 20 people that put themselves forward. So yes, I mean, I think knowing the football club, knowing how things are done at the football club, knowing how the club works, how things go, knowing the players, knowing the Premier League, all those things are very important. And except that's why the due diligence is being done, because you've got to be able to bring somebody in that knows these players, knows the Premier League, knows the teams that we're playing against, knows how to get the best out of these players, and know how to go into the games that we've got coming up to get the points that we need. So yes, I think it's a very important decision to be made. It won't be rushed, and I'm sure that, but as soon as they know who it's going to be, we will hear about it.
Gary, do you think this is the most important decision that the hierarchy have to make at Tottenham Hotspur Football Club in the modern day history?
Perry, these 7 games are the most important games in the club's recent history, yes.
Who do you think it should be?
Again, I've got no idea. Of all the names being put forward, I've got no idea who's...
Fancy yourself, Gaz?
Obviously, I've been a global club ambassador since I stopped playing for the club. So I said, worked for the club for 43 years now. It's been part of my family, and obviously, everybody at the club now is doing everything they possibly can to pull together to make sure we give ourselves the best possible chance of climbing up the Premier League.
You didn't rule yourself out, Gary, did you there?
I didn't rule myself in either, by the way.
Very good politician's answer, Gaz, that was.
Thank you, Gary. Listen,
Brilliant,
I know
Gary,
it's
thank
a
you.
tough time for you, and I know that you're very invested in Tottenham Hotspur, and I do wish you all the best, and it's very kind of you to come on and share a bit of time with us, and we know that that you've obviously very close to Tottenham Hotspur as well. So that's Gary Mabbott, club ambassador, but also Tottenham absolute legend.
Do you know what? Obviously, Gary said there he's a global ambassador for the football club. He does the matchday stuff. That's the sort of character on, because he's put his head above the parapet. He didn't need to. You know, if you're obviously employed by the club, some
pundits would say
have
no.
gone, no, I'll leave this
absolutely.
alone, thanks. So for Gary to come on, he's brilliant. But that's the sort of character that they need to go on someone who's going to take over.
Absolutely. Stephen Corker is a former Tottenham defender. He joins us on the line now as well. Hi, Stephen.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hello,
guys.
Stephen. Thank you very much for coming on the programme. We talked there to Gary Mabbott about the necessity of someone knowing the club inside out, having the passion to try and drag them out of a tough position. It was interesting that we got a few text messages straight after that saying it's all right, people saying you appoint someone with the DNA of Tottenham, but look at what happened at other clubs where that's happened, and notably the Newcastle Shearer thing. It ended up with them going down that time, although I think Alan will tell you that he probably didn't get enough time to turn it
he
round.
had no manager experience.
And he didn't have any experience at that particular moment. What do you think should happen next, Stephen? What do you as a player want at this stage?
I'm with Gary. I'll go with someone who knows the club. The first name that comes to mind for me is Ryan Mason. He's someone who has obviously gone and got his own managerial experience this season at West Brom. It didn't go as well as he would have liked, but I would certainly say he wasn't given much time there. And when he left the club struggled. I think that he did a good job at Spurs during the interim period that he had, and he knows the players. And I think right now, the most important thing for me is a relationship with the players. If you bring in another manager who hasn't experienced working with these guys, again, it's going to take some time. Tottenham don't have time. They don't have time. They're deep in this relegation battle.
You were a teammate of Ryan's, weren't you? What makes him such a good candidate?
Well, for me, first and foremost, his character. You know, he's a very, very likeable guy, and he's someone that I know has a lot of respect from the players, because I say he spent his time there. He's worked as the assistant. He's worked under Conte. He's worked under Mourinho. He's worked under top managers. Ange, he won the Europa League with Ange. You know, so he's got the experience, but most importantly, he has the respect of the players. And I think, you know, we obviously saw clips of Igor Tudor talking with Van der Ven. Those went, you know, viral, and there seemed to be a little bit lack of respect there. You know, the players look, I don't know, fed up, whatever you want, however you want to describe it. But I think what they do have for Ryan Mason is respect. And I think if he walks through the door, he'll demand that respect from the players and he'll get them together. Right now, they need to come together. They need to accept that they are in a relegation battle.
They've got a big problem on their hands because the season is coming to an end very quickly. We're just reminding you that the fact that we're talking about a possible replacement at Spurs has come about because they have parted company today with Igor Tudor.
Stephen, if you're going in and you're a manager, what would the first thing you do with that group? Say you've got them in, they'll all be back probably by Thursday. So what would the first thing you would do as a manager, as a player, what would you want to see from the manager coming in?
The first thing I'll do is sit down with the senior players. So if I'm going in there, I'd have a phone call with them while they were on international duty, and I'd want to have a discussion with the senior players and go, look, what's going on? You need the senior players on side. It seems to me that, you look at the leaders at Spurs or the people who you'd expect to lead. You've got obviously Romero there, World Cup winner. You've got Van der Ven, who's vice captain, Vicario. We want to sit them down and say, look, we're in this together. Let's find a way out. What do you need from me? And then I'm going to tell you what I need from you. Because there's certainly arguments to say that the players haven't delivered. I've said this previously when Thomas Frank was in charge. Everyone's always looking at the manager in today's football. Of course, the buck tends to stop with the manager, but the players also have to take some accountability. So the first thing to do is get the boys together. Let's have a deep and honest conversation. Secondly, let's get out there and get to work. Forget about all the fancy football playing out from the back. Let's get together because we're in a battle here.
See, what you said there, Stephen, I think there you've highlighted a problem because you're Cristiano Romero is your captain, and against Nottingham Forest, where you should be defending for your life and putting your bodies on, I thought his performance was disgraceful. So there's a problem straight away with Cristiano Romero because of his attitude.
Yeah, listen, there's no denying that there's been times this season where he's let the team down. It's been spoken about publicly. Of course, the amount of red cards he's received is also, no fault of his own, had his injuries, which a lot of teams have been injured, but that's out the window now. That's all gone. I would start by going, look, what's happened in the past has gone. Let's look forward. This is what we need to do. We need to dig deep. We need to get the fans back on side because the fans play a huge part now. I think back to Everton when they had Frank Lampard there. Wow, the fans, I know it's cliche to say, but the fans literally were keeping Everton up. That was like,
but the fans
incredible.
did that in the game ahead of the Nottingham Forest match, didn't they, earlier last week? They all turned up, they lined the Tottenham high road, they welcomed the coach, they set off the fireworks and the pyrotechnics, and then the team lost 3-0. And got, after a good start to the match, got played off the park in the second 45. It's got to come from the players. It's got to come from inspiration. You talked about Ryan Mason. He's obviously a candidate, someone that they would look to. They've done it before. You also worked under Harry Redknapp. Would you not think that him and Ryan together might provide that inspiration? Do you think that Harry could still play a role?
I mean, he could do. I mean, I know he's spoken about it recently, but I mean, football's moved on a lot since Harry was last in charge. I mean, football has evolved a lot since then. The tactics in the Premier League are certainly, there's certainly more tactics in the Premier League than ever was. I remember playing under Harry Redknapp. What he was good at is he was a good motivator. He was a good man manager. That's what I think Spurs would benefit from. If there was to bring Harry back, that he would be good at motivating the players. And for me, there's always the argument that the players should motivate themselves. They earn enough money. They're in a great position, but right now that we're not seeing it. And you mentioned there about the Nottingham Forest game. That was one of the worst performances I've seen this season. The team looked lost. And right now they need a leader. They need a leader. They need to come together, and they need to do it quickly because time is running out.
You're coaching. I think you're coaching in Turkey, aren't you, at the moment, or have been recently? Would you be prepared to switch that life to come and help Spurs out if you were coming in alongside someone like Ryan?
Oh, of course, I'll be on the first plane home. Spurs is the first team that gave me an opportunity as a player. And listen, I love the club and I want to see the club do well, never mind back out in the Premier League. So, of course, I think anyone who's had any association with Spurs would love the opportunity to be involved there. But most importantly, I want the club to be a success because the fans deserve better and so do the players. They don't deserve to be in this situation.
It was 3:30 this afternoon when Tottenham confirmed that Igor Tudor had left the club with immediate effect. Perry, you've talked a lot about the need to quickly appoint a manager. In terms of listening to what Stephen's saying about how football's changed since Harry Redknapp was last in the dugout, do you think that makes a massive impact, or does that sort of go out the window because the tenure that we're talking about is going to be so short?
I think with Harry Redknapp coming in, you'd have to have a young coach with him. So that's, because the modern day players' attitude has changed since Harry was in charge. So you'd have him as the figurehead of the, doing all the media interviews. Then you would have someone like a young coach, like a Ryan Mason or a Tim Sherwood, who's probably more into the modern day player and the way it happens. But as I said there, and I said it yesterday, the problem that they have, the culture at Spurs, from the players' point of view at the moment, there's a sense of entitlement there. And you have a captain who he knows that he's not going to be there next season. And he isn't bothered about Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. And it'll be a massive decision. And I said it yesterday that if I was the manager, and Stephen's right, you pull the senior players in, you want them on side. But I wouldn't have him anywhere near that first team. I would just, because you ain't going to worry about upsetting him because you're only going to be there for 7 games. I would just completely ostracize and say you're not involved whatsoever. I don't want any negativity around my team. Now, if it means you're playing players that may play, Jed Spence has to play at centre-half. And the other thing Sam was talking about, when you're going in, you're going to need the younger players. You need senior players, absolutely, for experience, but you're going to need the energy of the younger players like Bergvall and like Archie Gray so that they provide the fans with that energy and enthusiasm that Spurs have been missing. And I know Stephen said there about the players deserve it. The players don't deserve it because they're the ones that have on a regular basis haven't put 100% in and give 100% effort. So they have to be accountable.
One of the big criticisms about Igor Tudor, Stephen, was the fact that he had no experience managing in the Premier League. Would you be warning Spurs and their club chiefs against appointing another manager who doesn't have any experience of the division? Someone like Adi Hütter, who is the former Monaco manager, has had a lot of experience in Germany, in Austria and in Switzerland, has been heavily linked with the position, but has never managed in the Premier League. Would you be guarding against that right now? Would you be warning them not to do it?
100%, and no offence to Hardy, but 100%, that's not the right time, I don't believe, to bring in a manager with no Premier League experience. That's for sure. I think it's someone, they have to bring someone in. I mean, Sean Dyche has been linked. Sean Dyche has obviously got experience in so much experience in the Premier League. He's also got experience at the bottom of the Premier League and knows how to get results. But then I would also look at that and go, well, Nottingham Forest recently let him go. So then there's question marks around that as well. I know De Zerbi has also been linked, but for me, De Zerbi is a type of manager you bring in the summer when he has time to build, in the pre-season, build his style of play. He's got a very unique style of play. He likes to play possession-based football. Right now, Spurs don't need that. Spurs need to be compact. They need to be together, and they need to be hard to beat. And for me, that style of football does fit a Sean Dyche. It does fit, a Ryan Mason, who, as I said, has Premier League experience as interim manager and knows the players. So those are the two that I'd be looking at for me. I wouldn't be looking outside of that.
Thank you very much, Stephen Corker, former Tottenham defender, who joins us live today to talk about Tottenham, who have parted company with Igor Tudor. 43 days his tenure at Tottenham Hotspur. Didn't win a Premier League game during that period. They're now looking for a third manager to occupy the dugout this season. We'll continue to take your calls and your texts 0371 722 3344.
Join us now to look ahead to All British Heavyweight boxer Dillian Whyte. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Dillian.
Good morning. How's everything been? Good?
Yeah, good, mum.
Yeah, really, really good. You gutted for the Welsh last night for no reason whatsoever? Or is it just Gabby who's hammering them?
I have no comment.
Dillian, what are you thinking about this fight then? You fought both fighters, Itoma and Franklin. What are you expecting from Franklin in this fight?
I think it's a good fight. It depends on what Franklin turns up because, you know, he can turn up and put on a good show and be a really good fighter. Sometimes he can turn up and be a little bit of a stinker, you know. Obviously, he's coming off a loss in his last fight. But I think that's made him hungrier for this fight. And now, obviously, we look at Mosley thinking, if I beat Mosley, I get one up on Dillian because Dillian beat me and Mosley beat Dillian. So I think he's got double motivation. So, yeah.
How good is he, Itoma? You know, only 21 years of age, and we've seen his rise so far. How good is he, and how good can he be?
He's very good. Obviously, they're managing properly and maneuvering properly, and obviously he's...
Well, it's talkSPORT, it's Sam Matterface and Perry Groves, and we're here right the way through until 6 o'clock this evening. Loads of text messages, loads of calls, everything working their way into the show after Igor Tudor parted company with Tottenham Hotspur after 43 days in charge. We're going to get to Mark, to Daniel, to Trevor, to Chris, and to Paul very shortly. Hi, Sam. It's... a club legend would only get the fans up. The players don't really care and don't really have any affiliation with players of the past. Need someone to stroke the egos and get the players up. Suspect many will have an eye on being fit for the World Cup and won't want to risk injury in a relegation fight. We are going down. Between now and the end of the season, we need someone who can organise a defence. 2 banks of 4. Make us hard to beat. We have the players to nick a few goals on the break. That might be enough, says Gary, the Spurs fan. How about Roy Keane going in there for the final 7 games of the season? Be interesting at least, says Daniel.
bring the fans and players together. Imagine him telling the players a few home truths.
He himself has had a family bereavement over the last 7 days as well, and our best wishes to him. Igor Tudor should never have been appointed as the interim manager in the first place, says Rick's win ratio alone was a shambles. We need Harry Redknapp or Tim Sherwood to step in. We need back to basics, play players in their natural positions, from Hotspur Flicks TV. Okay, let's get to Paul, who is a Tottenham Hotspur fan, and Otto, who is a Tottenham Hotspur fan. Let's start with Paul. Hello.
Hi there, how you doing?
Yeah, lots of information reaching us at this time, so we're trying to negotiate and get some names from the frame for potential replacements. But who would you like to see?
I've got to be honest with you guys. I've got no idea. First of all, I don't know who would want to take the job because it seems to be the kind of the job that ends everybody else's careers. Possibly Ryan Mason was mentioned, but I don't know whether he's got the kind of gumption to kind of, you know, get the more sort of older players around him to believe in what he's got to do. I think it's all too little too late. And what Perry was saying earlier about Romero, and there are other players like Van der Ven as well, who I think they've had their heads turned. They're probably not going to be there after the summer. So I think we're down. I'm a season ticket holder and I think we're down. I'm kind of a broken and beaten Spurs fan.
The thing is, I know you've got emotional involvement, but what would lift you? What sort of appointment would lift you, Paul? Because I'm looking, you say about, you know, who would take it. If you talk about someone like Sean Dyche, okay, who's got experience at the bottom of the Premier League, can set his team up, difficult to beat, and it's a no-lose situation if you're going in now, because if Spurs go down, it's not the manager's fault because we all know about the coach. But if he manages to keep you up, you become a Spurs legend for the rest of your career, and also your stock goes high.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I get what you're saying. It's already a kind of a bitter job to take. So you've got nothing to lose. I mean, would Sean Dyche take it? I don't know. I mean, he's got the experience of that kind of battle from his past, but. Maybe a Ryan Mason for his energy, and a sort of Harry Redknapp because he's got a bit more kind of, that older kind of
man management, feel good factor.
Man management, maybe. Yeah, I think it would have to be a combination of some. And I like the idea of it being ex-Tottenham players, but I think we've left it all too little, too late. And to be honest, what I want to say is as well is the real problem is ENIC, the owners, and it always has been. They just, even though they put in money for transfer windows and stuff like that, they don't really have a football sort of knowledge behind it. They're kind of business. You know, that's what they are. They're a business. We have a venue. We don't really have a stadium.
And that's sadly becoming a thing across football, isn't it? But it's felt more keenly when you're struggling towards the bottom of the table that people don't seem to have a feel for the football side of that business. After all, that is what we're in it for. Sean Dyche was in the studio yesterday, in this studio itself, and he discussed the rumours of him becoming the new Spurs boss if they parted company with Igor Tudor, which they've now done.
According to social media, obviously you were in London last night.
Brilliant.
Talking to Spurs.
Oh, it's brilliant. Honestly, I was in the pub just up the way, near my place I've got down there. And this guy goes, oh, you meant to be in talks with Spurs tonight. And well, I'm standing next to you having a pint of Guinness. So I said, it's unlikely. I said, at least you work for Spurs. And they're in the Seven Stars pub having a pint of Guinness. I said, it's highly unlikely. No, I'm not. I'm with you, mate. And I'm on talkSPORT. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, but he didn't say he hadn't been talking to Spurs. It was a very good way of sidestepping the whole thing.
Again, very political answer. He didn't say
very
that
good.
He wouldn't do. But if you're, again...
He was brilliant, by the way, yesterday.
I don't know
that show back.
Yeah, very good. They've got very good relationship, those two, haven't they? To be fair, just bounce off each other. If I was Sean Dyche, and obviously I don't know his situation at Nottingham Forest, you know, when he's been let go there with Marinakis and what the deal is, whatever.
I think there's a bit of a financial problem there in terms of getting everything sorted out in order for him to take it on a short-term deal.
If I was Sean Dyche and Spurs did come calling for me and he knows that it's not going to be a long-term appointment, I would say to them, you give me £1 million a week from now to the end of the season. Wow. So you're talking 8 weeks, right? £8 million. And if I keep you up, you give me £15 million bonus. So 23 million quid to us lay people is an unbelievable amount of money. But for Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, that is cheap to keep them in the Premier League because that is worth 200 million quid to Spurs. And we saw about the problems on the field, off the pitch. Obviously, there's been a very big sort of push towards the NFL as a business, and you know, having boxing there, and you know, different sports, whatever. Even as a football business, which we all know clubs are, you get your business success from your team being successful on the pitch. Then everything else just falls into place. And this goes back, and I've said it before, to 2019, where they didn't back Mauricio Pochettino, where they had a brilliant manager with an excellent squad, and he wanted to revamp it. He wanted to get rid of older players like Danny Rose and Vertonghen, excuse me, and older Alderweireld. And Daniel Levy wanted big transfer fees for those players, and they didn't back him. So this has been a slow drip, drip, drip feed for 7 years, and this is where they found themselves.
No manager currently in charge of Tottenham Hotspur. Bruno Salter, as we understand it, is going to take training for the week until they find a replacement. We've got loads of calls coming in, so let's get to them. Otto is a Tottenham fan. Hello.
Hello, mate. How you doing, mate?
Hello, Otto. We're really good. Thanks for coming on the programme. Tell us what you think about this situation at Tottenham and who do you want to replace Igor Tudor?
Well, at the moment, guys, I've heard you speaking on the radio, and basically, for me, Mason's not the one. He'll never be the one. Tottenham fans have never looked at him as the permanent man that's going to come in and save Tottenham. That's number one. Sean Dyche, for me, is also no. Yeah, and the reason I say that is he's gone to Forest. Yeah, they've got rid of him at Forest, and I also think he's not the one.
He had a 40% win rate at Forest.
Yeah, to be honest with you, at this present moment, right, we're the only club that haven't had a win, right, this year, right? For me, right, we need a club legend in there now. So, like you said earlier on, for the supporters to get together, yeah, to make sure the fans and the managers, right? For me, there's only one man, and that's Glenn Hoddle. Glenn Hoddle needs to come in. Yeah, he's been around football. He's always been around football. He's always on TV. He's presenting, whether it's England playing, whether it's the Premiership. He's around football. Yeah, man's never lost his touch. For me personally, someone like Glenn Hoddle, yeah, coming in with someone like Tim Sherwood to motivate the players as well, right? Remember, guys, we need 2-3 wins. Glenn Hoddle will easily do that. People are talking about us getting relegated, right? Yeah, going down. You see, if we could beat Sunderland away, which we can easily do, yeah, right, we need the right person to come in, lift these players up. Like you said earlier, we got good players at the club. Christian Romero is a World Cup winner. Yeah, where his head's gone, I don't know.
Attitude stinks the place out.
Yeah, stinks the place out. So you need someone to come in and tell him, you know what you're playing for, what the badge means to the club. Because at the moment, none of these players, yeah, and I mean none of them, yeah, apart from the younger players, that are showing a bit of heart know what the badge means to the club. And if you get this appointment wrong, yeah, the fans are going to go mad. So when people say to me, Mason's the one, when absolutely he went to West Brom, sorry, I thought he'd done a terrible job at West Brom. Yeah, all right. So for me, he's a no-do. I'm just saying, guys, if we don't get this appointment right, and in my view, Glenn Hoddle is the only one, the club legend, the man that wore the number 10 shirt, yeah, has been through and through Tottenham, yeah, with him and someone like a Jermaine Defoe and a Tim Sherwood, because you don't just appoint Glenn Hoddle, you appoint another two youngsters that have played for the club, yeah, know the club, come in, motivate these players, you know, give them a kick up the arse, you know, and tell them this is what we need to do.
And look, Otto,
the kind of point system.
I'll be honest with you. I don't speak for Glenn, but I've worked a lot with Glenn, and I spent time with him recently, and we've talked about it. And you know, what would you do, Glenn, if this was the situation? How would you go about it? And you listen to him talk, and you think, well, that makes sense. I understand that, and I do think you're absolutely right. Listen, this is a guy who could quite easily walk in the door tomorrow and then come up with a plan to try and keep you in the league. I think he would need a little bit of young help as well, because, you know, I think the idea of having coaches that resonate with the players at this moment probably is going to be required. But in terms of dealing with people and commanding respect, there's nobody that commands more respect than Glenn Hoddle, that's for sure.
That is the big thing. It is the respect. As soon as he walks through the door, he'll have the instant respect of the players, of not just his managerial career, but what he did in his playing career.
I do get the feeling it won't be a Spurs legend, though. I don't know why. I just got a feeling it's going to be
what
someone.
What he needs to do as well, Otto needs to go in on because Otto's
a good speaker.
He's the only Spurs fan we've had on so far who's been positive, who thinks that Spurs are going to get out of trouble. So they need Otto in there on Thursday.
Otto, good luck to you. De Zerbi is not going to touch Tottenham with 7 games left heading to the Championship, but also he's got a chance of the United job if they don't keep Carrick, says Lewis. Houghton, club legend. Teams are very difficult to beat from the St Albans Nag. Listen, I think he'll do a great job, but I'm not sure that they've contacted him yet, but we don't know as of yet what the situation is in terms of who they're thinking of appointing, because they say they haven't got anyone lined up. What about Dave as a Spurs fan? Hello.
Hi, afternoon, chap.
Hello, Dave.
Chickens are coming home to roost for Enoch and Daniel Levy here.
Well, Daniel Levy's not been involved for nearly a year.
I don't care. No, it hasn't been nearly a year. It's only the beginning of this season. This is his team.
That's 9 months.
His setup.
It's been a long time.
This is his setup. This is all down to him, okay? And I've been saying this for a long time. And all those Spurs fans have said, oh, what about our training ground? What about the ground that we have? This is down to you lot as well, who haven't been chanting Enoch out every single game. But that's another thing. Now, we're desperate, okay? This is desperate. But players like Romero, who's been an absolute disgrace all season, and I can't wait to see the back of him, and he probably will go. I guarantee he'll be injured in the next couple of games, like he did before the last World Cup, so he could go to that. What I would want to take over is Sean Dyche. Now, offer him £5 million, £10 million to keep us up, because it's going to cost a whole lot more if we do go.
It'll have to be more than that, Dave. It'll have to be. It's worth more. As I said, it's worth £1 million a week and £15 million.
And the issue is here. We don't know that. I haven't got the details in front of me, but I do know that there is some sort of reluctance from Sean because of the situation, or complication with Sean because of the situation with Nottingham Forest. And unless you sort that out, you can't prize him out of that contract.
That can be sorted out in a phone call.
Or that compensation. Well, it can be if you're prepared to issue that sort of money. But let's be honest, it's not like Tottenham are pretty free with the cash. Their wages are usually quite low in comparison to everybody
Sam,
else's.
But we know that Tottenham Hotspur, as all the top football clubs, are a business, right? So this is the risk reward. They have to be prepared to take a big risk, and it's a bigger reward. If they don't, as I said before, this is the biggest decision they've had to make. I can remember when Spurs went down in the 70s. So this is the biggest decision they've had to make for their managerial post that they've had since the mid-1970s.
Well, this is the worst situation they found themselves in since they were relegated at the end of the 70s, right? When they were relegated under Keith Birkinshaw. They had a terrible season that year. It was a couple of years after they'd won the UEFA Cup. They've just won the Europa League. The season afterwards, they could find themselves in a situation where they could end up getting relegated. Obviously, that's something they want to avoid. And I think they probably feel they can avoid it because there's still 7 games left and their opponents there they would be expected to beat. But then again, over the course of the last few weeks, they've been expected to beat a lot of teams and haven't done it. Terry is a Spurs fan. Hello, Terry.
Hello, Tel.
Terry.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Hi, Tel.
Yeah, hello, mate. Yeah, I've said it all day, all the time. Redknapp, you've got to bring in Redknapp. He will save us, I guarantee you.
Who would you have with him, Tel?
Pardon?
Who would you have with him? Because he has to have...
No one. I wouldn't have no one with him. I know football's changed, but Harry Redknapp knows what he's doing. He's a likeable character. Everyone loves Redknapp. I know it's got nothing to do with, even with a celebrity, I'm a jungle, get me out of it. I even said that he was going to win it because I know what kind of person he is. Everyone loves Redknapp. Everyone respects Redknapp.
But you need someone in there with him to take the coaching and take the training sessions.
Well, or Chris Hughton. I'd go with Chris Hughton if I was to pick someone to go with him.
And you think that would give the Spurs fans the feel-good factor, and you would be pretty confident that he would keep you. Basically, you need 6 or 7 points really to stay up.
I guarantee you, if Redknapp comes in, our first game we'll win it. That's how confident I am with Redknapp. I even said it before we got Tudor to get him Redknapp.
Okay, Terry, thank you very much. 03717223344. There's been a lot of reaction to this, and thank you very much for everyone who's got in touch. Obviously, there's lots of people that want to have their say. We want to try and find out what's going to happen next. I know you want to find out what's going to happen next at Tottenham. Spurs say a new head coach will be announced in due course. Well, they'll be hoping that that's not too far away because there's only 2 weeks to the next game. They've got 7 games to change their fortunes and save their season after they parted company with Igor Tudor today after 43 days in charge. This is talkSPORT.
Former Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp has broken his silence on Mo Salah's impending departure from the Reds. Here he is talking to the Anfield Wrap about the legacy that Salah will leave behind.
Unbelievable goal. So he was part of the best front three in world football for a long time and was the one who always had the highest numbers. So that says something. That really says something. It's not easy to be slightly above the other 2 guys, and they have all their specific skills. But Mo was the one for the last situation. He wanted to have that more than anybody. So Sadio was a mix of both. Like, yes, he wanted to score goals, but he could have played midfield even. So that's his skill set. Bobby was the genius who didn't care about anything and could play absolutely everything. And Mo was the one who was really always the goal in his mind. And you cannot train that, and I don't think you really can learn it. It's inside, and he has that, and he will have that until the last day of his life. I'm pretty sure that's why it was the challenge, because if you wanted to...
It's talkSPORT on the day that Tottenham Hotspur have parted company with Igor Tudor after 43 days in charge. In the WSL, Leicester City are 1-0 down against Brighton. Leicester bottom of the table. Brighton very much mid-table. There's only 3 minutes to go in that game. Crystal Palace in WSL 2 have beaten Charlton by 3-2. The leaders lose today as a result of that defeat by Palace. Bristol City 0, Birmingham 1. Birmingham now 3 points behind the leaders Charlton with a game in hand in WSL 2. Nottingham Forest 2, Durham 1, and Sunderland 1, Newcastle United 1. In Super League, Hull FC 22-20 up over the Catalan Dragons. That one kicked off at 3 o'clock, just coming to its conclusion. 9th against 7th. In Prem Rugby, Sale Sharks 26-26 with second place Bath, who are 6 points off the leaders Northampton. What a game that is. They've got a game in hand, though, Bath over Northampton. In Champ Rugby, it's Nottingham 19, Chinnor 26. They're level on points, but Chinnor have taken the victory. This is talkSPORT. So many texts, so many calls, so many people wanting to get in touch. We've got a little bit more sort of information coming our way about different possibilities, and there was a couple of articles doing the rounds now. Even the likes of Ben Davies has been linked, obviously a senior player within the group. He is currently going through his coaching badges. Obviously, we've mentioned Harry Redknapp, Glenn Hoddle, Tim Sherwood, Chris Hughton, all potential options. Adi Hooter, the former Monaco coach, is out of work. Sean Dyche available as well. We probably need a bit of steer from Tottenham Hotspur about what direction they're going in. And certainly the players who are on international duty will be wanting some sort of clarity. Bruno Salter, we understand, is going to take charge. Who makes the appointment, I suppose, is the big question, because Vinay Vintakesham and Johan Langer have become very unpopular very quickly at Tottenham amongst the supporters after making the appointment of Igor Tudor and overseeing what was perceived to be a bit of dawdling over Thomas Frank's position. Nick Butcher, who is the son-in-law of one of the members of the Lewis family, has been sort of given the responsibility of the club entity after the removal of Daniel Levy, and is apparently taking on a more hands-on role. I wonder whether or not they'll be looking at the positions of Vinay and Johan in the summer.
If the hierarchy are thinking that Vinay and Johan aren't going to be there next season, they can't be the two that are making the choice that who's going to come in and be the next manager. So the problem that you have is at every level at Tottenham Hotspur Football Club at the moment is there is no leadership. There is no leadership at all. There is no big characters who are leading the way and saying, this is you're going to follow me. So that goes obviously from the board, and that goes on to the manager, and that goes on to the players. So you've got to have a real big character that's going in this time.
Do you think that if you went down the route of a foreign manager, someone like Adi Hooter, who hasn't got any Premier League experience, you could get away with that appointment if you put him alongside a club legend?
No chance, because someone like Adi Hooter who's going in, he want to say obviously what's happening on the pitch and what teams you're going to pick. And Igor Tudor's gone in and had no experience with the Premier League and was found out very quickly. So
the criteria, as far as you understand it, you've got to have some connection to Tottenham Hotspur. You've got to have Premier League experience.
I think not necessarily the connection to Tottenham Hotspur is the feel-good factor that it will give the fans, that someone's going in that actually cares and gives a rat's backside about Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. So that would be the feel-good factor going in. You have to have whoever's going in, whether it's young coaches or a senior coach or a young coach coming in with them, they have to know the Premier League. They have to know the physicality, the power, the pace of the Premier League, because it catches foreign managers out. It takes foreign managers a long time to settle in, not just like foreign players. So, yeah, you have to know what the Premier League is about. And to be fair, we had Otto, didn't we? He was the only really Spurs fan who thought they could get out of it. But what he said is true. You need maybe 2 wins and a draw out your 7 games would get you out of trouble, because you're expecting the other teams below you.
Possibly.
Yeah, but the other teams you're expecting to win 2 or 3 games.
And you may have to win one of those big head-to-heads, mightn't you?
Leeds and Wolves. They're the 2 massive games. If you get 6 points out of those games, and if you're organised and you have the right structure and have the players that actually care, because all the Spurs fans who's phoned in, they realise that the culture is rancid, completely rancid. So if you have to upset a few senior players, tough. And one of the callers, which I totally agree with, actually said about the younger players in. Now, you're looking at Archie Gray and Bergvall to inspire you and try you give you that energy on the pitch. So it is a mess. But this mess needs to be sorted out by the worst ways out on Thursday. It needs someone in charge
Someone
for when
needs to
the
be
players,
in
by the time that the players come back from all over the world, whether on international duty, that they come back on the Thursday and the manager who they're going to give to the end of the season goes in, sits them down, goes, right, I'm the leader. This is what we're going to do. This is the way we're going to play, and get them all on board with a younger coach.
The other thing is it's especially important now, isn't it, for someone to come in and be in charge, be the person that sets the tone straight away.
Big character.
Players sniff out within 2 training sessions whether or not you've got it or not. Why are so many of these callers saying 6 points is easily achievable? We've won 7 of 31 games this season. The club needs a reset, and some of these fans may need a reality check. That's from Alex, the season ticket holder, who doesn't have his head buried in the sand, he says. The boss says, Spurs, Spurs, Spurs. Hi, Sam. Andy, the chauffeur here. The Spurs issue is the players and the culture. They have had winning managers from around the world, but the players are doing it for wages, not the club. Let's see if there's any optimism amongst the next 2 callers, Lenny and Mark. Hello, Lenny.
Good afternoon, boys.
Hi, Lenny.
Afternoon, fella. What do you want to say?
Perry. I just wanted to say that, just like your previous caller, I don't agree that Ryan Mason should be put in as interim manager. I just thought, going back to when Jose was sacked a week before the League Cup final or Carabao Cup final a few weeks ago, he just looked like a little schoolboy lost out there. So he doesn't. I'm putting myself in their position. He won't be able to motivate me. I think who could motivate me would be, not that I should need motivating, but in the current situation would be Harry. Harry to motivate and Tim to tell them players, because I think Tim could get them going, but without going over the line of, being too sort of forceful like maybe Igor was. You know what I mean? Tell them what it means to wear that shirt and get them pumped up and get them going and have enough savvy to, like Romero, I was there last week against Forest, as Perry said, that second goal. Gibbs White was all on the centre, penalty spot, all on his Jack Jones, and just tapped the ball in when Romero was just jogging back. He shouldn't have been going up there. Or if he did go back, he should have got back to keep that back line. We're just too easy to play against. So we need someone like Harry, Tim, or even get Chris Hughton in, as someone said, because when he was at Brighton, he had us, they were always hard to break down. And that's what we need.
Commands respect as well, doesn't he, Chris?
He does command respect. They all do. Harry's done it, Tim's done it, Chris has done it. So someone like that, we need someone with Tottenham blue blood in our veins to get them going. And can I just say something else with regards about, Levy going? Levy's, it just goes to show that, as a big organisation, multi-million pound organisation, Levy had his hands in too many pies. He controlled everything. And now he's gone, we're like just a rudderless ship, because as Perry said previously, when we get rid of someone, we should have someone lined up. Brighton get rid of a manager, or someone comes in for their manager. They've got two or other 3 managers lined up. Right, we'll go and get him, or we'll go and get him. We've got nobody.
Well, look at Watford. I mean, everyone jokes about Watford changing their manager as often as they do, but as soon as they've announced who's leaving, they're announcing who's coming through the door. We've got no indication that's going to be the case at Tottenham. Lenny, thank you very much.
Cheers,
Appreciate
Lenny.
your call. 03717223344. Mark is next. Hello, Mark.
Hello, how you doing? All right.
Hello, Mark.
We're good, Mark. What are you thinking
yeah,
today?
not bad. I'm all right, man. I'm all right. You might as well put Darren Bent, Jason Candy, and Perry in that football club and go and join the Gouda that we've got in charge. They can't make much more of a mess than there is already.
Do you know what, Mark? I just put it out there, right? I've said I don't want you to get relegated. I've said that. I've put that on the record. I want the North London derby season after season after season.
You're not going next year, though. We're not taking you again.
Is that because you get 6 points every season?
No, I'm not even going to say that. I'll have to get plastic surgery next time instead of false nose and glasses.
Don't. Mark, come on. What do you want to say?
I've got 2 theories about this. Either we bring the likes of Tim Sherwood and bring Michael Dawson, Jermaine Defoe in. I mean, they understand the club. They know what the club's all about. But there is another alternative, and he lives not a million miles from where I live in Yorkshire. What about Gareth Southgate?
Did he put his reputation on the line to take it for seven weeks and then possibly take them into the Championship?
Absolutely.
Going to do that?
Mark, he said that he's not particularly bothered at the moment about going back in to be a football manager. And if there's one place that he wouldn't go to, as Sam said there, would be you at the minute, because he would know about the culture at the football club and he wouldn't want to damage his reputation. He's got everything to lose if he come back to you.
I understand that. I mean, but you're going on about players. I would drop Romero and Van der Ven tomorrow. I wouldn't have them 2 in anywhere near the team. They're too big-headed. They think that they're better than the football club. And we go to Sunderland in a couple of weeks, like 2 weeks today. And I will put Dragisan, I'll put Danso in there. At least they'll fight for the club.
Jed Spence
they're
centre
not the
half.
best players in the world. Yeah, put them to the centre half. Get rid of Van der Ven, get rid of Romero. Romero's, I've never rated the bloke anyway. And he just thinks he's too big for us. I mean, the only game he's turned out against this season was Atletico Madrid, home and away, because, that's where he wants to move.
He might get a move, yeah.
It's. I mean, I say we got a load of us go every week home and away, and it's a car crash. It's horrible, and I'm old enough to remember when we went down last time, and we didn't have the likes of Johnny Pratt, Peter Taylor, Stevie Perryman, Glenn Hoddle to bring us back. If we go down, we are going right down the next division as well. The club is absolutely rotten to the core.
Well, that doesn't sound particularly positive, Mark, does it? But let's see what happens. Let's hope that's not the case. Daniel is a Spurs fan. Hello.
Hello, guys. How are you?
Hello, Daniel. Yeah, we're very good, thank you.
So before I kind of give my opinion on the next match, I just want to say, on behalf of every Spurs fan, how disgusted I am with the whole season. It's been a shambles from top to bottom. The decisions have been awful. The timing of the sacking of Thomas Frank, absolute atrocious. And once the season ends, regardless of whether we survive or not, heads must roll. We've got to get rid of Johan Langer and Vinay ASAP as soon as the season ends. But in regards to the manager, it has to be a Spurs man. It's got to be. It's got to be Harry Redknapp. He's got to come in as interim with someone by his side, and it has to be someone that knows the club. And that is the way we have to go to save this season.
So who would you have as Harry Redknapp's number 2?
It's got to be either between Defoe, Sherwood, or possibly Mason. Just one of those three, a young figurehead, someone that knows Spurs.
Is it one of those situations where you sort of almost need to sort of, I don't know, Iron Man and the Avengers? It needs to be someone like Harry Redknapp. Let's get Chris Hughton in as his number 2. So we've got full experience, full coaching range. You've got Jermaine Defoe in there as well. Maybe Ledley King, maybe Ben Davis. I don't know, but like maybe just assemble a proper team with someone who everybody commands respect for at the top of it, and then some other people underneath that are sending the message out. This is how serious it is. We've all come together to try and sort this problem out.
Exactly. So you don't need a tactical genius. When you've got 7 games to go, or how long we've got to get out of this mess, you need someone that's going to put his arm around the players. You need someone that's going to go up to each and every one of them and say, you're the best player on the planet. They might not be, but Harry Redknapp, for argument's sake, is the best at that, as you know. Great man manager.
So what, Dan, it's a brilliant point you made there. You've got to pretend that you think that players are good. Even if you don't, because that's what Igor Tudor did. He was in the interviews. He made it perfectly clear, didn't he, that he didn't think the players were good enough or didn't have the spirit, and he was probably right. But you've got to lie to yourself and lie to them, and tell them how good they are, even if you don't think it.
Exactly, and as you know, Harry is the best at that. He will go in there and go up to players like Xavi, for argument's sake, someone who's quite a decent player, but obviously he struggles slightly. He'll put his arm around him and say, "You are the best midfielder in Europe," and that's all you need. You need someone like that to drag them out of this mess. You don't need a tactical genius. You need someone like Redknapp or of that ilk to come in, sort this mess out, and get us to safety, and then we address it in the summer.
I think the other thing about Harry is everyone seems to come up with this phrase whenever you talk about him. He's not a tactical genius. Listen, okay, he's not Pep Guardiola, and I think he'd be the first one to say he's not Pep Guardiola, but he doesn't overcomplicate things. But let's not pretend that he doesn't know what he's doing with the football team. He is a man. He's the last Englishman to win the FA Cup, and the only Englishman to win the FA Cup in a very, very, very long time. He is a manager who's done a brilliant job at West Ham, at Portsmouth, at Tottenham Hotspur, and beyond. So I think we sometimes underplay his tactical acumen. But I do think that everybody who goes in there now is going to need a team around them, a proper team around them. So be interesting to see what happens next at Tottenham Hotspur. We spent a lot of time talking about it because it's the biggest story of the day. It's the biggest story of the weekend so far. It's International Weekend. We expected to speak a lot more about other matters, but just after 3:30 today, Igor Tudor parted company with Tottenham Hotspur. They say by mutual consent. His coaches went as well, and Tottenham say a update on a new head coach will be provided in due course. We haven't got that yet, but as soon as you do, we'll hear it here on talkSPORT.
every Thursday we'll be joined in the studio by rapper and Spurs fan, AJ Tracy. How are you?
How you doing, fella? Not too bad.
Good. Now, we spoke to you on the phone before. I've never met you, right?
You spoke to me on the phone before, yeah.
Okay, do I call you AJ, Trace?
You call me whatever you want to call me.
But what do your pals call you?
AJ. Age,
yeah. Okay,
Age.
nice to meet you, Age.
If we've had a beer, it's Age.
Age, okay.
Yeah,
We should do that, Mark, on Thursday.
Yeah?
Thursday's a great night to go out.
I heard the fridge is stocked over here. I might be here for... Yeah,
forget the food. We go across the road for a few. Can I ask what AJ stands for?
AJ, it's a multitude of things, but it's just a stage name that I thought makes sense. It sounds like a normal name, though. It sounds like a government name, which is why I picked that rather than one of these crazy aggressive rapper names. I thought something that will sell, something that a mother's not going to look at. Their kid wants the AJ Tracy record. They're going to be that name's crazy. I'm not going to buy the record. Just a nice, normal...
It's a friendly name.
It's a friendly name.
Yeah.
It's marketable.
Obviously it is because it works.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You said it, not me. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much for coming in.
No, thanks for
What
having
are you
me,
up to at the moment? We're going to talk loads. I know you're a big Spurs.
By the way, if I wasn't here with you, I'd be watching this, by the way.
How nice is that?
Of course I would. I watch
Is it your favourite show?
Yeah, it is, definitely.
Oh, that's nice of you. Well, you're our favourite artist.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. You had to say that.
You know. Should we ruin the conversation by talking about
Go ahead.
Spurs
Let's do it.
You're a Spurs fan, right?
I am. I'm bracing myself. I am.
Are you looking forward to football in the Championship next season?
Look, the truth of the matter is, I, as a fan, I can't do anything about the situation. Is that accepted?
Sunday session. It's talkSPORT with Sam Matterface and Perry Groves, the former Arsenal winger. The big news today, Igor Tudor has left Tottenham Hotspur. We've covered it extensively, but the final word with Spurs fan Majestic and former Newcastle midfielder Kevin Nolan will be taking your calls on the matter from 6 p.m. tonight. Across the sporting universe today, Chelsea in the WSL have beaten Aston Villa by 4-3. Chelsea up to second, Villa down to ninth as a result of that. A late Shokinushkin goal settled the game at Kings Meadow. A brilliant strike from her from the edge of the penalty area after a lovely little layoff from Sam Kerr has given Sonia Bompastor's team all 3 points. West Ham 1, London City Lionesses 1. West Ham 11th in the table, London City 7th now. Leicester City bottom of the lot were beaten at home by Brighton. In WSL 2, victory for Crystal Palace over Charlton, who lead the way at the top of WSL 2, but Birmingham closed the gap to 3 points now, and they've got a game in hand because they beat Bristol City by 1-0 earlier in the day. Other wins for Nottingham Forest and a draw between Sunderland and Newcastle United. In Super League, victory for Hull FC. They beat Catalan Dragons 24-20 to go up to 7th in the table. Later at 5:30, it's Leeds Rhinos against Warrington Wolves. That game is going to be live on talkSPORT 2. In the Prem Rugby, South Sharks 26, Bath 31. Bath now 1 point off the leaders, Northampton Saints, as a result of that. In Champ Rugby, victory for Chinnor away at Nottingham. They go up to 5th, Nottingham in 7th. In the men's singles final at the Miami Open, Yuri Lihika and Yannick Sinner get underway at 8 o'clock tonight. Gary Woodland leads by 1 shot at the Houston Open on the US PGA Tour. He will get his final round underway at 5:55 UK time. And Alex Fitzpatrick, the Englishman and brother of Matt Fitzpatrick, won the Indian Open with 9 under. And this morning, the Japanese Grand Prix was won by Kimi Antonelli. It's the Sunday session, and we're live on talkSPORT. Well, we'll talk about Tottenham Hotspur and the parting of the ways with their current manager. We haven't really got into any other international duty issues this week. We'll get into some of that now by dipping into what the situation is in Mexico with John Bonfiglio, who is a Mexican journalist. He's in Mexico right now, and there was quite a disturbing event last night during the game between Mexico and Portugal. It was a 0-0 draw, not a great game. But it was a night of conflicting emotions at the Estadio Azteca. It was the grand reopening of that wonderful stadium which held the 1986 and 1970 World Cup finals. It was a year of renovations that had gone into sort of putting effort and expectation into the souls of the Mexican people trying to reopen this great stadium. They've got 5 scheduled World Cup matches. It looks still a little bit like a building site, and scenes of jubilation were undercut by the news of a tragic death of a fan. Confirmed by local authorities shortly before kickoff, the fan fell from the second level of the box seating area of the stands. Let's speak to John Bonfiglio now, who joins us to discuss this and other matters. Hi, John.
Hey, how are you?
Hi,
Can you just sort of give us a rough outline of what happened last night? Because obviously it's a major event that's happened, reopening the stadium, and clouded in tragedy.
Yeah, look, I mean, it was, of course, contextually a night of celebration, marked by no goals whatsoever. Historic encounter, which was definitely sort of tainted by tragedy. My understanding is that this individual, Adrian Gomez, 26 years old, who was, the authorities say, was in a state of inebriation. And just prior to kickoff, he was headed for the bathrooms, but there was a wait up a ramp, and he decided that he was going to scale a wall alongside the ramp, which he attempted to do, and then he fell off that wall and then onto the level below. And paramedics were on the scene instantly, but they were unable to revive him, and tragically he died at the scene.
Well, that is a really sad story, isn't it? Obviously, there was a lot of focus on the stadium last night. What is the state of the building work? Because I had a couple of friends that were in Mexico a couple of weeks ago, and they were having a tour around the Azteca, and they think that most of the area around the stadium still looks a bit like a building site. What is the situation with it?
Yeah, that's fair. Really, the stadium itself is pretty much close to done. There are some sort of some I's that need dotting and T's that need crossing, but really it's the sort of the infrastructure around the stadium itself that still has a fair bit of renovation and maintenance work to take place. But that's the same in Guadalajara, and it's the same in Monterrey as well. Really, I guess the important thing about yesterday's match in particular, as regards the Azteca, was to what extent it would go off without a hitch, and certainly there were no issues in terms of the fan audience, the attendance, the approach, and the departure after. And bear in mind, this is a huge operation. The new Azteca has a capacity of not far off 90,000 people, and it was pretty full last night. It was up to 83,000. So, wow. That's a lot of people to get in and out. So there's definitely some visuals that need correcting, but we're still a couple of months out, and there's an expectation that in the next 2 or 3 weeks everything will be complete.
How are Mexico preparing for the World Cup? Because of course we have this situation where Mexico always get to the last 16 stage, but never seem to get much further than that. There's always talk about a fifth game because there's an extra round this time around. Maybe they'll get one. Yeah,
historically they've never managed to get beyond that point. And really, I mean, everybody's fully aware that it's more an issue with the Mexican side rather than any sort of opposition that they face. I thought the crowd reaction last night was interesting, and there was a definite discrepancy between the critics, the commentators, and the crowd. The crowd at certain points were shouting the ole, when there's in Spanish language football, when a team starts to sort of be flamboyant and hold the ball demonstratively, that they were actually supporting the Portuguese side when they were holding the ball, by default criticizing Mexico's absence of purchase on the field. And that really drew a lot of attention and criticism. And by the end, actually, there were a few jeers and boos, which was generally the sort of commentariat say was really sort of unmerited, because Portugal are a pretty good side. And Mexico, they weren't quite as good as Portugal on the field, but they definitely held their own. So, but it tells you about the level of expectation, I think, that is, I mean, this first game back at the Azteca, there's an assumption that an expectation that Mexico should really be able to punch above their weight. There's a famous phrase here, which relates to the United States, which says, "So far from God and so close to the United States." And one commentator actually yesterday, slightly critically, said that they were so close to the World Cup and so far from football. So it's a very thin line between the sort of the expectation of hope and the downright criticism that Mexico might face if things start to go wrong. And it makes the importance of that first game against South Africa, first 45 minutes even, all the more important, because it's all about whether the country is going to get right behind them and they're going to ride that tide, or whether they're going to implode based on those criticisms, which are so easy to achieve.
Do you know what I find amazing? Obviously, 2 defeats in 17, and Mexico were very well structured defensively. There's 4 clean sheets in the last 4 games, I think 5 in the last 6.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Generally, the issue with Mexico is the fact that they play in the CONCACAF region. So their inter-tournament record is always pretty good, because most of their opposition outside of the likes of Canada and the United States are basically sort of Central American nations and Caribbean nations. So they tend to do relatively well in that regard, but they suffer because then they reach these tournaments, whether it be the Gold Cup, CONCACAF Nations Tournament, or the World Cup, and then they struggle because they've actually had a pretty easy ride for the last period of time. Added to which, their approach to this World Cup has been marked by a number of injuries, which potentially actually might help them, because historically there's been this sort of dependency on one or two big name figures, and it sort of never reaches fruition. But what struck me about the game against Portugal last night was that actually it was probably the most cohesive, I think, that I've seen Mexico play as a unit. And it may well be that them being forced into being a sum of their parts may actually benefit the national side going into the World Cup.
Interestingly, England decided not to go to North America this weekend in order to play their friendlies in the build-up to the World Cup. But a lot of nations did, France, Belgium, Portugal being one of those. How much does it help those European nations that have come over to North America and Central America in the last sort of couple of days to acclimatise and get themselves ready for the World Cup? Is there any way you can sort of do that in that short period of time? Is there a point to it?
I think it's one of those 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Of course, if you're moving, if you're travelling, it adds to the sort of the stress and the tiredness at this sort of key point of the season where there's already fatigue coming in. But by the same token, going through the process of moving between countries, I mean, and playing and entering into that sort of tournament mentality, of course, has its purpose. As regards the temperatures and the sort of the climate that we're expecting in the summer, of course, that varies a lot depending on whether you're going to be playing in Canada, the US, and even within the US. I mean, Seattle's going to be completely different to Florida, of course. So there's limited acclimatization that can be undertaken there. I think there's clearly sort of rational, coherent reasons for both decisions to be made. I don't think it affects things really massively one way or another.
Thank you very much, John. Appreciate it.
Cheers, John.
Nice to speak to you and keep in touch. We'll speak to you, I'm sure, in the build-up to the World Cup, which is not too far away now, less than 80 days before we start our coverage. We've got every single game live on talkSPORT. Next on the Sunday session. So our Sounds of the Weekend this weekend, which we launched around about 2 o'clock, and we've had a couple of Spurs managers since then, I think.
Is this the Spurs praise you? This is what it is when the manager goes in.
Sounds of the Weekend this weekend, Diego Maradona Jr. has compared Scott McTominay to his late father and says that he is almost Jesus-like. Praise You by Fatboy Slim, suggested by Joe McCardle, because of that McTominay story. Our other big story that we're taking songs for on Sounds of the Weekend, where we get you to attach top hits to brilliant sporting narratives, is that the Europa League win of 2019 didn't count in order of getting a bonus if you were a Chelsea player. Rob Green revealing that this week. Rob Green, the reserve goalkeeper, said that Chelsea viewed it as a second-tier competition, so didn't pay out bonuses. Interesting. 03717 223344 on the WhatsApp, 81089 on the text if you want to suggest some songs for the next 45 minutes or so before we get to the final word. And next it will be the return of another one of our favourite features, String.
Stefan, the cost of missing out on the Champions League. If I throw 4 at you here, Chelsea, Liverpool, Manchester United or Newcastle, missing out in Champions League, who would feel it most?
Yeah, I think Newcastle would definitely feel it the most, just because the base they're coming off is that much smaller. So therefore, the proportion that's associated with Champions League football is that much bigger. And they probably did something like £55 million of UEFA money. And then on top of that, obviously had the 5 home games on top, which are or 6, probably 6 actually. When you, I think they had a playoff. So that's 6 home games on top. I mean, that's obviously very significant. So you're talking about 75 million quid out of revenue of, let's say, 300 this season. You know, it's quite a big drop next season if it's not there. Now, obviously, they may get Europa or the conference. The conference doesn't really move the dial at all. And Europa, you have to win it really to make a meaningful difference. And that then brings you a Champions League place. So I think Newcastle will feel it the most. But it will definitely be painful for the others. It will be painful for Manchester United. It doesn't look like they're going to miss out. But if they did, of course, that would be the 2nd consecutive season.
Of the weekend on the Sunday session on talkSPORT.
Mick H for Scott McTominay, who is the new Jesus according to Diego Maradona Jr. Jesus by Queen. And the Beatles, You Never Give Me Your Money. Dan in Cardiff for the Europa League bonus story. Poor old Rob Green didn't get one, even though they won the competition in 2019 because Chelsea viewed it as a second tier competition. The big news today is that Igor Tudor has left Tottenham Hotspur. We've covered it extensively. The final word with majestic Spurs fan and former Newcastle midfielder Kevin Nolan will be taking your calls from 6 o'clock tonight. 03717 2233 444. Now it's time for this.
Stranger Things on the Sunday session on talkSPORT.
And we start with a very strange story to mark the return of Stranger Things. It's not to do with Igor Tudor, by the way, or any Spurs manager. Uruguay are heading to the 2026 World Cup with 4 stars above their badge. But why, I ask? And actually, do you know what? I was thinking this on Friday night. Why?
Why?
Because they've only lifted the trophy twice. Yes, granted, it was important. At first glance, you may think, have I missed a couple of World Cups here? But the extra 2 actually come from Olympic gold medals in 1924 and 1928, back before the World Cup even got going. So it's all technically legit after being signed off by FIFA, so they can claim to be 4-time world champions. So no complaints allowed. But you can't really think that's sort of fair. That's not the World Cup, is it? The Olympics.
I think the clue is the Olympics. It was the Olympics. It wasn't the World Cup.
Maybe get rings or something.
The World Cup didn't exist.
No.
So on that, tell you what then, we played Independiente for Arsenal in the Joe Robbie Stadium in Miami on the unofficial World Club Championship.
Do you need that as well?
So we need that star, or whatever is on our shirt, Arsenal's, that we are World Club champions.
There's only one Club World Cup disc, mate, and it's right in the middle of a blue shirt for the next 3 years, and it might be the only thing that Chelsea win.
Yeah, but I'll have a little word with Gianno. Gianni would say, yeah, you can have that.
Come on, move on.
Over to the strange story from the world of fashion. As the New England kit has been revealed, midfielder Ruben Loftus-Cheek featured in a video on England's official YouTube channel titled How to Style the New England Kit. Loftus-Cheek gave his opinion on some of the England squad members modelled the kit. The midfielder modelled the jersey himself with multiple different outfits and how to meet the fashion criteria of 2026. Summer Sam, you love a little bit of fashion, love a bit of Primani. So, what have you done?
What are you saying?
What? No.
How to look fly in the New England strip.
Yeah, but also there's not many people who can manage double claret. Do you know what I mean?
Hey,
you're one of the few who can do double claret.
Do you know what? I bought the new red kit.
The merch?
I did. I bought it. I ordered it. I think it's arrived. When I get home tonight, I'll have it. But yeah, I think you've got to wear it in a certain way. I've actually been, there's a little bit of advice of how to wear it fashionably on GQ.
What, an England
week.
shirt? How to wear?
How GQ have done a thing about how to wear.
I'll give you a tip. Don't wear it 2 sizes too small.
Not too tight.
Yeah,
Not around
you
the
see a
old,
lot of England
derby.
fans. Exactly, yeah. Just have it baggy.
Now to a quite extraordinary story detailing England superfan Andy Milne, who is so determined to follow the England national team at the World Cup this summer that he's decided to sell his home to fund the trip. The 62-year-old ex-teacher, who became a familiar face during Qatar 2022, has already booked flights and plans to be in the United States for 7 weeks, attending every England match, with tickets, flights and hotels adding up to eye-watering sums over $5,000 if England reach the final. It's shaping up to be the most expensive World Cup yet for fans. I'm not joking. I think it's... Dom, tell me, it's more than that, isn't it? Just for tickets, isn't it? It's nearly $5,000 just for tickets, isn't it? We worked out when we were discussing it. Unless you're Dom, obviously. Who knows
every every angle, every avenue.
He knows. Andy usually rents out his Cheshire property, but after 27 years of ownership, he felt the time was right to cash in. For him, though, the sacrifice is worth it, showing just how far some fans will go to support their team on the world stage. What I was talking about earlier on.
Do you know what? He was living next door to Ben White. That's why. So I thought, right, get rid of this. And finally, talk about a strange turn of events that #United have officially requested to be relegated, even if they finish above the drop zone. The Essex side, famous for their massive YouTube presence with nearly 700,000 subscribers, have decided the step up to the Isthmian League Premier Division has become too demanding financially, with high costs for travel, stadium upgrades and medical requirements. Despite sitting 18th, just 1 point above the relegation spots, #'s founder Spencer Owen confirmed the decision, marking a dramatic moment for the club's 10th anniversary. If approved by the FA, the team that finishes 4th from bottom can be spared, and the club will drop down the division by choice, prioritising sustainability over survival.
Do you know what? It was
I get it.
Actually a sad message that Spencer wrote this big thing on social media, and it was a bit sad, really. It highlighted the problems that you've got with football and sustainability and trying to build a football club and even though they've got a lot of people that are interested in them and have had a lot of interest in them, with the hospitality costs, with the rising cost of inflation, travel, fuel, energy prices, all that kind of stuff. It bites harder and harder and harder the further you go down the league, and it's just sad that football now has become so much about money.
At any level.
At any level.
It is, because it is, the more money you have, the more successful you're going to be. Because what happens, the more you go up the pyramid, you have to pay players more money to pay for you. That's what it is.
Talking of players that have earned quite a bit in their time, what a fantastic get by Andy Goldstein and Darren Bent this week. Do you know what? I texted Andy Goldstein when I heard that Sir David Beckham was on Drive this week. I said, what an amazing get. How did you manage that? And he just said to me, Sam, when your mates just keep texting you, begging to come on the show, eventually you've got to let them. The former England captain was on Drive on Friday afternoon, and he discussed the form of his former side, Manchester United.
Yeah, I must admit the last few months have been a lot more comfortable than the last 10 years, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's been tough over that time. But I think Michael's got experience. I think he's got a calmness about him that he's brought into the club. He knows the club. He knows the players. He knows the way Man United play and way Man United should play. And I've always liked Michael as a coach. When you look at him, there's a calmness. There's on the side of the pitch, there's, I don't want to say elegance because I'm not sure that's the right thing to say, but there's a elegance in the way he is, whether it's the way he celebrates, whether it's the way he gets angry. All of those things are important in a manager, and I think that the way he's got the team and brought the team together has been incredible, and I think as a United fan, it's exactly what we needed.
Michael Carrick has been exactly what Manchester United needed, according to Sir David Beckham. Should he get the job permanently?
Do you know what? They should have gone, not now, Bex. All our segments are full. We might be able to get you in tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? Keep Beth pushing me to come on to us. He's put himself in a really strong position. And it's Sir David Beckham there is unusual that he's actually ex-Man United players actually come out in favour of Michael Carrick and talk really positive about it, because there's a few ex-players that don't think that he should get the job. There is, Sam, honestly. I don't do social media, but I actually read the news, and there's a few players that don't think he should get it.
One or two, but a lot of people are behind him.
He's won 7 out of 10 right? So, which is superb. Lost one game at Newcastle away. And all he's done, what Sir David Beckham said there was, he's gone in and he's just been calm. He's just been calm and gone, right, I'm going to play players. Said it before, and they're in the right positions. Fernandes in the 10. Mainu coming in, obviously, he's one of the holders. With Cunha out on the left-hand side, gone to a back four, like a 4-2-3-1. And he's all he's done, he's gone in there and he's just got stability. Now, that's okay for these first 10 games because there's some of the games that they've played where they've been better without the ball, where they hit teams on the counter-attack. If he does get the job permanently, he's going to have the total say the players that he wants coming in and going out, and the style have to change because Manchester United, everybody knows the Man United sort of way is that they want to play on the front foot, fast, attacking football. But he can't play that at the moment because he just needs to get results, and that's exactly what he's done.
So David also discussed how England players Jude Bellingham and Trent Alexander-Arnold have been getting on, and another of his old teams, Real Madrid.
I love the fact that he was at Dortmund from a very young age, and he still kind of respects obviously what he did at Birmingham and where he started, but then going to Dortmund gave him that opportunity to kind of experience it at a young age. Then going to a club like Real Madrid, that changes everything. I mean, that's a big move, and in his first season, to do what he did, the fans absolutely love him because he's a worker. He's got the talent, and I believe that we have a lot of players in the England squad that are great players, that are good players, but Jude can bring something different. He can do things that other players can't do, and I truly believe that. He's a great kid, he's a great player. I really think that him being in the English squad, but it's been a tough season for him because he's had injuries. It's tough to get in and out of that squad once you're injured and other players come in. It's not like average players are coming in your place. I'm a massive fan of Trent. I love Trent as a player. I've heard so many times over the years when he was at Liverpool, when he's at Madrid, when he's playing for England, about, well, he's not as good at defending as he is. Well, you have to take, sometimes you have to accept that. It was the same. Roberto Carlos was an unbelievable defender, but he was also unbelievable going forward, and he'd always go forward, and then we'd have to cover him. So, those kind of things you expect. But with Trent, would I take him? I'd find it very hard not to take someone like Trent. But then Thomas is, he's come out and said, I think I read it this morning, that there are other players that are ahead of him at the moment. But he said at the moment, so that could change. I think you said it. Tonight might prove, that other players are playing that might not get in the squad. So you don't know. It might, this is very close to obviously picking a final squad. But I still think that Thomas is probably still considering about Trent as well.
talkSPORT YouTube channel has all the clips, has all of the has the whole section actually. If you go on the talkSPORT YouTube channel of the David Beckham interview on Drive on Friday, what a terrific interview it was as well. Brilliant listen, really enjoyed that. And he talks there about the pressure being different in Madrid, but both Bellingham and Alexander-Arnold have managed to cope with it. It is different, though, isn't it? I mean, it's a different level of scrutiny, I think, to maybe not necessarily to Liverpool, but certainly it is still. It is different. It's different. It's different.
It's
not necessarily a higher level, but it's different level.
No, it is a high level.
Liverpool's quite.
Liverpool are a big club, right? Real Madrid have newspapers just for Real Madrid. So you're talking. It is daily reports on Real Madrid, and there's the food chain, and Real Madrid are at the top of that food chain. I don't care what anybody says with the press that you're under. I actually gave Trent Alexander-Arnold credit for leaving because he took himself out of his comfort zone to go to Real Madrid, to be judged on a different level. But I think, I don't agree with Sir David Beckham there, with saying about Thomas Tuchel maybe taking him. He's not going. He's no chance, because when you get to the quarterfinals...
We've heard him speak about it.
Yeah, but when you get to the quarterfinals, semi-finals, finals, you can't trust Trent Alexander-Arnold defensively. And I know that Henry Wint was on this morning saying about, well, he can give you a bit of creativity if you need to put him on. You don't put right-backs on in the last 20, 25 minutes. We've got enough forward players that can change a game. So on that side of it, he's definitely gone. The Jude Bellingham side, I agree with. And it might do England a favour that, he's had that shoulder injury, because he's every chance, if he gets some minutes under his belt at Real Madrid, that he could be really fresh in the World Cup. And England have a chance to win the World Cup if Harry Kane is on top form and Jude Bellingham is on top form, because and I agree with Sir David Beckham there, Jude Bellingham gives you something different. He's one of those like star quality players that he might not be involved in the game all the time, but he'll come up with big moments at the crucial times. And so if he's fit, I'd play him alongside Declan Rice and put him as an 8, but I think Thomas Tuchel is going to put him as the 10. So if he's fit and fine, we have a chance to win the World Cup. If he's not, then we don't.
This is talkSPORT next on the Sunday session.
I wanna be a billionaire so freaking bad.
So did Rob Green.
Sounds of the weekend this weekend. Rob Green has revealed that there were no bonuses paid out for their Europa League win at Chelsea in 2019 because the club see it as a second-tier competition. And also, Scott McTominay is Jesus, or just about as close to Jesus as you can get, according to Diego Maradona Jr. for his role in Napoli's title charge. He said his legendary status is second only to his dad's, Maradona himself. That was Travie McCoy and Bruno Mars with Billionaire, Tom the Chelsea fan, reacting to that Europa League bonus story. And next we'll be looking ahead to the final word with co-host tonight, Kevin Nolan. I think Tottenham might come up.
Yeah, I would have a show like Oprah. I would be the host of every day.
You played in Korea and Japan, didn't you? World Cup in 2002. Did you find it hard, the weather conditions to play in?
They are tough, and in South Africa as well. We played a game, and then the altitude, the ball moves different and everything. And if you're not used to it, as we know, we all love to go on holiday in the summer, but playing football, running around in that heat and that weather, it takes its toll at the time, and we're just not a nation that's used to that. So that's one of the major things I look at when it comes to that tournament being over there.
What about strikers? We know Harry Kane's going to go, but if you looked at the Euros, he was injured, wasn't he? And Gareth Southgate was still playing a game. Maybe they didn't trust other strikers in the squad. What do you think of tonight? Do you think Solanke and Calvert-Lewin have to put in a performance?
I think it's their chance of breaking in, isn't it? It's their chance of solidifying their self in that talk of being the one to take.
It's talkSPORT, it's Sam Matterface and Perry Groves. We're here through till 6 o'clock tonight. After us, the final word. We'll get to the boys in just a second. Across the sporting world right now, Super League latest 5:30 start on talkSPORT 2. They've just got underway. Leeds Rhinos 0. Warrington Wolves, who are second and currently 2 points off the leaders Wigan with 2 games in hand, have just got underway. If you want to listen to talkSPORT 2, just download our app. You can flick between the 2 stations. We've got lots of live sport coming up in the next week. Japan are the next opponents for England. That's live on talkSPORT on Tuesday night, and the Premier League returns next weekend. We've got the FA Cup Saturday and Sunday. All of the quarterfinals are available. The following week, the Premier League is back. We've got West Ham on the Friday night. It just keeps going on and on. Arsenal on the lunchtime. Then we're on Sunday Game Day Live. Perry and I will be bringing you coverage of the new manager at Spurs by that point. They'll be taking on Sunderland 12th of April. That's their next game. And they did sound out Roberto De Zerbi, we understand, to see if he would join them before the summer. As it stands, the Italian still remains inclined to wait, as revealed by our chief football correspondent Alex Crook earlier on today. He remains a strong candidate to take the role permanently if Spurs avoid relegation. Prior to the Atletico Madrid game in the Champions League, they did contact 8 interim bosses, or made a list of 8 possible interim bosses. They did include Adi Hooter and Sean Dyche. Challenge for Dyche is offsetting his Nottingham Forest payoff, which will end with new work, meaning it would be very expensive to hire him. But Spurs are prepared to pay a significant bonus to keep the team up. Interesting to see what happens next. Ryan Mason, Ben Davis, Ben Hoddle, Tim Sherwood all have been discussed. Other names discussed as well: Robbie King, Chris Hughton, Harry Redknapp, none of whom have had any contact as of Sunday lunchtime. Keane is also appreciated by Crystal Palace and hoping for a long-term role when he moves on from Ferencvaros. Igor Tudor, though, not the manager anymore. Kevin Nolan, fancy the job?
I don't think that'll happen.
Wasn't a no, though. Wasn't a no from Nolan, was it? No.
He hasn't ruled himself
Officially on talkSPORT. Breaking news.
You know that's going on social media.
I don't think that'll go down too well, will it?
How are you anyway? You okay?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, mate. You?
Yes, nice to see you in the studio. The final word with Majestic tonight.
Yeah.
I wonder what his mood is going to be like.
Well, he isn't here yet, so I'm really looking forward to that. I'm seeing it. But yeah, we'll be talking a lot about, obviously, Tottenham. Igor Tudor, who's going to replace him. I think we've got a bit on about West Ham as well.
Yeah.
Eddie Howe. And then, obviously, international break, so a lot about England as well.
Yeah. How you been last couple of weeks? Obviously.
Yeah, okay, mate. Yeah, obviously disappointed to lose my job in that moment and everything else. And had time to reflect and have a little look at it, and I'm hoping to sort of have a chat with the owner, the chairman, in the next week or so, just to sort of clear things up, get a bit of feedback and about what happens next, really, and what can help me going into my next job.
Do you know, it's a difficult role, isn't it, being a manager, because everyone gets fired all the time now. I mean, no one's got any patience whatsoever, and it's constant churn. But you're willing to go back in again, I take it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I love it. I loved it. I loved every minute of it. I was just unfortunate. I lost my front three after Christmas, and we just didn't really were able to sort of strengthen in January, and then it affected us. And we knew we were going to be, and we were where we was, and we knew that at the beginning of the season, because that's what the budget tells you. You're going to be in a scrap, and I said that in January to the owners. It's going to be hard, and we were in with a shout. Unfortunately, in the last 3 games they've lost since I've left, they've drifted a bit further away. But I was still positive that I was able to do the job and keep them up, and it's unfortunate I weren't able to do that.
So you're talking, obviously, as a manager, you've been obviously a top player as well. So the situation we have at Spurs, as a player, what do you want from your manager coming in now? Because I've said that worst ways out, they have to have someone there by Wednesday or Thursday, when they'll come back from international break. Yeah. But as a player group, you're sitting down there, what do you want to hear from the manager?
Well, first and foremost, I'll be sort of getting in the changing room and saying, listen, lads, this is up to us. It doesn't matter who walks through the door now. We've got to do it for our own professional pride.
So senior players need to have leadership.
So I think there's got to be a lot of leadership come from within the group now. I think that's what I'd be looking at. And it doesn't matter who walks through the door. We've got to take it on board, but we've got to do it for our own professional pride, because I think what we've seen over the last, I mean, this has been going on a long time, Perry.
It's been a drip feed, hasn't it?
Exactly. There's been a lot more downs than ups at Tottenham over the last year or so. So they've got to look at themselves in the mirror, them players, and really think about what they want next, and not look at the individual it's about collectively and what they can do to help Tottenham.
It must rank, though, as one of the most bizarre appointments, though, mustn't it? The fact that they brought in Igor Tudor, a man with no Premier League experience, a man who was wedded to a system that Tottenham weren't suited to, playing players out of position, clearly being quite antagonistic initially towards the players as well, giving the impression that he didn't rate them or thought that they needed to completely change their attitude, which maybe they did, but the way he handled it seemed to be quite combative in style. Tottenham clearly didn't know that the guy who follows him around, who's supposed to be, I suppose, the cuddly guy who sort of mops up behind all of that combative sort of personality, Ivan Javorčić, wasn't able to come and join him. They thought he was going to be able to get a work permit. He hasn't, and he didn't even turn up to become part of his staff, even though I think initially that's what they wanted. They clearly hadn't done their due diligence properly, had they?
I think that's, you've just hit the nail on the head. It's due diligence in it, to bring somebody in with no experience whatsoever, not being able to bring in his team as well, so that he had the best opportunity to showcase the best of his ability. It just seems a disaster, and they've lost time, and now obviously patience. So, but look, for me, what I would be saying if I was, the owners, everything, I'd be speaking to the players and saying, look, we're going to be appointing someone, but we need you to be all in, because we need to stay in the Premier League.
You're talking about like leadership from the players. I think that's been the big problem, that there hasn't got enough leadership and players taking responsibility. So the manager going in has to be a big personality.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. I think that's what you're probably looking at, or to be able to handle these personalities of what Tottenham have at this moment in time. But I think, you see a lot of them talking on social media and coming out and saying all the right things. What they've got to do is do the talking on the pitch now.
West Ham United had a little bit of extra fight, I think, since the end of the January transfer window. They've sort of come to the boil a little bit. They looked a little bit more aggressive, but they're still in a relegation fight themselves. And probably them and Tottenham are the most likeliest at this moment in time to be the one that ends up perishing and going into the Championship. Your old club, West Ham United, how important is it for them to stay up? And do you see more in them than you see in Tottenham?
Well, I think we all see that. I think that, anyone can see that. West Ham are probably in a better state at this moment in time. Somerville's come to the fore, and he started scoring goals. Jared Bowen's in good form. The January additions were really good by Nuno. Nuno's been there before, and a lot of them lads in that dressing room have been there before, so they all understand it. I'm not too sure, do a lot of the Tottenham players understand it a little bit more? What they've got to do now is they've got to fight and scrap for every point, every blade of glass, and get the job done.
Super Kevin Nolan is on the final word after 6 o'clock tonight. 03717223344. He's with Majestic, who's a massive Spurs fan. I reckon there'll be quite a few Spurs callers tonight. Cheers, mate. Nice to see you. Lovely to see you. That's Kevin Nolan. He's going to be with us very shortly indeed. It's time for this.
The talkSPORT 20k giveaway.
Yes, it's competition time, and talkSPORT giving one lucky listener the chance to bag 20 grand. That's right, completely tax-free. This is how you enter. For your chance to win, text WIN to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate. You can call 0343 418 7260. Lines close on the 9th of April 2026 at 4 p.m. That's when you need to answer your phone if it rings. It's 18 plus, UK residents only. It's a network promotion. Full T's and C's apply, and they're available at talksport.com. At 20 grand, imagine what you could do with 20 grand. The holiday you go on, the party you could throw, whatever it is that you think you would do with it, let your mind delve into that dream and text WIN to 83338. Now, right, next on the Sunday session. What's amazing about this story about the bonuses, the 2019 Europa League wasn't big enough for Chelsea to pay bonuses, which is part of our Sounds of the Weekend, which is why we're playing Simply Red, Money Too Tight to Mention from Richard in Northampton, is that at the time Abramovich was in charge. It just shows that his standard was a lot higher than the Europa League.
Even if you won the Europa League, you'd never try to get sacked.
Chelsea managed to pay out bonuses for the Conference League win last year.
What, officially or unofficially?
Oh, that's out of order. That was out of order.
No, that's not allegedly, by the way. So that was for the old regime.
Oh.
The old regime.
Ouch.
Not the new regime.
Ouch.
Right?
Ouch. You've Ronald Rocco'd me there, just above the ankle. Next, we'll be taking a look at the Premier League title race and ask whether or not last week's capitulation in the Carabao Cup final is going to do for us.
Oh, look at you come out swinging again, eh?
Coming back for you now.
All right, Itomo.
Sounds of the weekend on the Sunday session on talkSPORT.
Son of My Father by Chicory Tip, suggested by Tony, the Charlton fan, for the McTominay story, because Diego Maradona Jr. said that Scott McTominay had legendary status unparalleled apart from Diego himself at Napoli after the title charge. Dirty Cash Money Talks by the Adventures of Stevie V, suggested by Jill for the Europa League bonus story. Rob Green revealing this week that Chelsea wouldn't pay bonuses because it's a second-tier competition. Outrageous. Across the sporting world right now, Warrington Wolves have kicked 2 points. They lead against the Leeds Rhinos by 2-0. They're in second place at the moment, Warrington. 2 points off the leaders, Wigan, with 2 games in hand. What will Manchester City's Carabao Cup triumph mean in terms of the title race, if anything?
Did you that Dirty Cash Man City? Is that the 115? That's outrageous, by the way.
That's nothing to do with me.
That's outrageous.
You're linking something that shouldn't be linked there, Perry.
Oh, was this in my head? Was it? Oh, okay.
Well, I didn't do it. It was. All right. That's Ollie, the producer, calls the shots. I was just going. I was going from a song into that. Mere coincidence, he says. He says mere coincidence.
Mere coincidence.
It's It's
Alleged.
Ollie the policeman
Alleged.
at talksport.com if you want to get in touch with them. Yes, go on.
Just the charges.
Anyway, will it affect
They're
anything?
innocent
Are you trying to deflect?
They're innocent
Are you
until
trying to
found
deflect?
guilty.
You know they beat you last week. I was at Wembley on Sunday. I thought they were very good, especially second half. I thought Arsenal probably better team first half. James Trafford, brilliant triple save. Apart from that, didn't really threat, did you?
No, the disappointing thing was the performance in the second half, where for the first 25 minutes, Arsenal were far too passive. Do you know what I mean? It was just like, and I know obviously
even the set pieces weren't very good.
Yeah, but on the tactic side of it, and I'm watching it at home, and you're at the stadium, you can see they're doing a line of four up, Man City doing that line of four, and saying, "Go on, then you got to play through us." So all these coaches have got their coaching badges, right? You're looking at that, and you should be saying to Kepa, by the way, for the next 5-10 minutes, 15, whatever, go long, and it's not going long straight, it's going long into the onto the sidelines where you put either Gyökeres or Kai Havertz, who are both really good in the air and holding the ball up. You put them over on the side, and you create a fight ball, and if you win the knockdowns, great. If you don't, the anxiety disperses because you're further up the pitch. And even on I could feel the anxiety of the Arsenal fans in the stadium because the goal, Nick O'Reilly's first goal was coming. You could feel that it was coming because there was no out. There was nothing. Should have taken Hincapié off. As soon as he got booked, he couldn't go and impose himself on Semenyo, so Calafiori should have come on earlier. And I'd have put Max Dowman on as soon as we went 2 down, I'd have put him on straight away.
Great review of the final, but what does it mean for the title race? Can they catch you? There's 9 points at the moment. They've got a game in hand over you. Can they catch you?
Of course they can, because this isn't the Man City of old, but there's every chance they could go on a run from the confidence they took from this game. And they did a job at the Emirates where he went Mike Bassett like a 4-5-1. Man City's improved since then. This next week coming back, and I'm just worried about our players, actually.
They've got tough games. I mean, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal.
There's a week.
Their next few games.
Yes, but they've
FA
got a
Cup
week
and Premier League.
in between the Liverpool Cup game, which they play away, and your mob on the Sunday. I'm just worried about our 11 players that are injured. We don't know how many are going to come back, going to be fit. Do you know what I mean? To play.
I'm going to guess all of them.
All right, so I'll take that. But we've got Southampton away on Saturday, which will be a half and half team. Big game against Sporting on the Tuesday in obviously the Champions League. The chance to put the real pressure on is the Bournemouth game at home, 12:30 on the Saturday. It's rarely that we play in front of Man City. This is the time where you can really put the pressure on. And Bournemouth are in good form at the minute. You know, sometimes you play teams at the wrong time, but they will come and they will try and close us down, which I hopefully will sort us. I would, if I was Arteta, as soon as the players get back, I'd sit him in their auditorium down at London Coney. I'd play the celebrations of the Man City players when lifting the trophy. And I'd play Ryan Cherky keeping the ball up, taking the mick. And I'm glad that Ben White went for it because I wanted the 2 foot the telly, trust me, when he was doing that. I know we want flair players, all that, right?
A bit cheeky.
Right, but that thing is, you get what's coming to you. And I would be saying to all these Arsenal players, by the way, do you want that? Do you want that? Do we take the mickey out of again? Because this is on you now. And I'm more concerned about us than the opposition, where we've got to release.
Benefit because they've got no Champions League football and you have?
You could say, obviously, they get the week break, but I'd rather be in the Champions League because I still generally think we've got a chance of winning the Champions League. So it's about momentum. It's about the game against Southampton, which you want to win, and you get the momentum and going, obviously, Sporting Lisbon away. Then you've got, obviously, the game on the Saturday. But I'm hoping that this group of Arsenal players, I said before, are in a moment in their careers that they might not ever come again in their club career. This 6-7 weeks, they can put their mark on their history in Arsenal Football Club, that the pain from Sunday is deep in your soul and deep in your blood, and that will drive you on. And we have to be more proactive. We have to go into... I know Arteta wants control. I get it, Sam, right? But the players that we have, and especially in the forward areas, Saka's not in great form in it. If the game turns into basketball, I'll back our group of players against any team in the Premier League to come out on top. If it goes from end to end to end to end. So you've got to be prepared to go and risk losing the game to try and win it. And Arteta was doing that early on during the season. I want him to get back to that now.
Do you think, though, if they get over the line, even if it is just by a point,
don't care.
At the end of the day, he's done it the right way, hasn't he? Because that caution may end up being the thing that gets you over the line. If it happens that way, who cares?
The ends justify the means.
Of course they do.
So it doesn't matter if I'd like to be honest as an Arsenal fan to have maybe 7-10 days.
They have to win every single game.
Yes, okay, they do.
You've got to drop 2. You've got to drop 2 games.
But what you want to do is you make sure it's in your own hands that you don't. Say the Bournemouth game is massive game on April the 19th, obviously up at the Etihad against Man City. So if we win the title, everything Arteta's done in that 6-year period is right, 100% right, because he's taken a culture that worked great, got rid of big time Charlies, and he's put us. But this winning mentality now.
Come on, if he gets you close to winning the title, and he has done right now, he's done a brilliant job, hasn't he?
No, he's done a brilliant job. I said we're only where we are because of Mikel Arteta, but he knows himself that the position we're in with the 2 big competition, we've got the FA Cup coming as well, is that if Arsenal don't win one of them, he knows that there's going to be pressure that's going to come in, not internally, but externally. And there'll be some Arsenal fans as well. Will be, Arteta's, hasn't won anything. He's got to where we are. I'm 100% in Arteta's camp because I say we've got our club back. And if this group of players wins one of the big ones, whether it's the Premier League or Champions League, there's a chance that you have a little cycle that is football cyclical, where you could be, win 2 of the next 3 or 3 of the next 4.
Let's just get over the line first of all before you start thinking about winning all the titles.
No, I didn't say that. I said there's a chance. Don't misquote me. There's a chance.
Lovely to see you.
Cheers, Sam.
See you soon. I think I'll probably see you
on Zoom next Sunday.
Probably.
Oh no, it's not next Sunday because it's this FA Cup next weekend.
FA Cup next week. I'll be at West Ham versus Leeds this time next week for
good game.
talkSPORT.
Proper old-fashioned
so looking
FA
forward
Cup
to that. Before that, of course, 3 quarterfinals on Saturday, including that Manchester City-Liverpool game, which is live. Tuesday night, we've got Japan against England from Wembley as well. Join the boys for that one from 7 o'clock. White and Jordan back tomorrow from 10 till 1. And Majestic is alongside Kevin Nolan next. Liverpool have announced on Tuesday the cost of attending a match at Anfield is going to increase. It's going to go up by 3% next season, following further increases in line with inflation over the next 2 campaigns. They've decided to do this despite consulting with the Liverpool FC Supporters Board, a decision which was firmly opposed by fan leaders. Liverpool have revealed that adult general admission tickets, which currently cost £39 to £61, are going to rise between about £1.20